go there. They go to the smaller towns in the opposite direction. So not useful to anyone, and
there's no
you
rhyme
couldn't
or reason
work, you
to it.
couldn't commute, you couldn't get
Right.
to school.
Right.
There is no daily thing you might need to do that you could
No.
possibly do on the buses. And saving £1 per journey is going to make very little difference to anyone near
Right.
here. Our buses are empty because they don't go anywhere useful at any kind of useful
Right.
time.
But that's exactly right. So they're only kind of, used by people who have got no particular place to go, and they're not in a hurry to get there, and they don't have a job, and they may well be unemployed. And that's basically who he's trying to serve, because in the end, that's all Labour can serve, because the only people that enjoy a Labour government right now these days are people who are either working in the public sector or who are not working at all.
Yeah. I think it's very clear that Labour is not working for working people. And if you just look at the announcement on the reduction of business rates for hospitality businesses yesterday, which is already having limitations put on it of what type of hospitality might count. Every single landlord is saying the problem is NICs, the employers' NICs that have put up the cost of employing people so much. The minimum wage that means the same, that the biggest cost often in a pub is the staffing costs.
Yeah.
And that's ignored, but that's because it's not about getting people to work and look after themselves and have personal agency and responsibility. It's about having people reliant on the state.
Yeah, exactly right. And he's not going to really be able to make any kind of inroads there, is he? Because supposedly, if he wants to do anything at all, he's going to have to not borrow more money, he's going to have to save money. And the only place to save money is welfare, but he's not going to be able to do it.
He hasn't mentioned touching it. It's completely unaffordable. When our benefits bill is bigger than our income tax receipts, as is now the case, you can't keep affording that. It's just not possible. And it's all very well, these, charming millionaires who don't want to give more tax and actually fight the government when they're asked for more tax, saying rich people should pay more tax. But we're already soaked that this country's never successfully raised above 38% of national income via tax. And it's already above that. That gap is being filled by borrowing. And you can put up taxes all you like more, but you're going to just have to keep borrowing more to cover the difference.
How long do you think Andy Burnham's got before everybody's kind of sees through the charade, if you like? And will he have an election, do you think, early?
I think it's not at all unwise for him to choose to have an election early. The polls are mixed at the moment. I mean, yesterday there were the favourability ratings out. One had him at +13, which is pretty decent for a new Prime Minister. Not stellar, but pretty decent. Another had him at +3, which is very middling, and a big fall. I think it's down 8 from where he was a week before he was Prime Minister. And falling at that kind of rate is not looking ideal from the Labour Party's electoral perspective. We also had 2 polls out, I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday, that showed either Labour have had a big bounce or they've had no bounce at all. So who knows? But if there is a bounce, he would be wise to take it quickly. He'd be wise to look at what happened to Gordon Brown, who did get a honeymoon bounce. It vanished within 6 months.
Yeah, I think so.
And he went on to lose.
Yeah, exactly right. I think, well, this is why I think you'll have an election early, because I think he won't want to go into 2029 knowing that he will be famous for losing the biggest majority that Labour ever had. Because that will be his legacy. You know how they love a legacy.
They adore a legacy, but he might also want to build that legacy as he sees it. I mean, at the moment, we've got sort of piffling bus fares and tiny little baubles that he's throwing out. But if he does want to build a legacy, that will obviously going to take time, and he might want to hang on to do that. But there is also always in our politicians, our particularly our prime ministers, you can see it time and time again, the fear of an election.
Yes.
That you can't guarantee you're going to win, so you put it off thinking, if I just do this one more policy, then maybe I'll get it back. Maybe we'll have a lead again, because Labour has not had a lead in the polls.
No, absolutely right. Lindsay Arthur, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Have a lovely weekend. We will see you soon, hopefully in person. You haven't been in here yet, have you? You haven't been down here. So you
I
must come and
haven't yet.
visit
I would
us.
love to.
All right, let's do it.
Would love to.
Great to see you. I'll
Thanks,
buy you
Mike.
lunch.
Take care.
Lindsay Arthur, Rees-Mogg, thank you very much indeed. Joining us there for the probably the third or fourth time, but we need to get her into the studio, I think. Plonk of the week maybe for Lindsay Arthur would be good. We haven't got one for you this week, unfortunately, Plonk of the week, because we couldn't manage to find the time to do it, because with UK Live online, we are literally working our socks off, producing shows. Kelvin MacKenzie, I think, is back today, is he not? At 10 o'clock, I'll have to go popping in to see him before the end of the week. And, of course, Plank of the Week coming up in the next half an hour or so, which will go out tonight as well as an additional kind of thing. And also at the weekend, if you're a member of our Substack community, it'll be Ask Mike on Sunday. And also maybe a little bit of a walking and talking in the countryside, which I wasn't able to do last week. I had to do it in Victoria Station last week because I was on my way to a garden party. But there we are. I'm delighted to say that as we are now reaching 12 minutes past 9, it's time to say hello and a very happy day. Bishop Kai Dewar, the Bish. How are you, Kai?
Good morning, sir. I am truthfully absolutely exhausted, but rocking and rolling. And I have a very strange question that is going around my mind.
Go on.
Having just watched the last. I want to know how Annunciata knows that Andy Burnham has strange little baubles.
Well, that's a very good question. She's been around the political world for a long time, and maybe she's had some experience of either seeing them or feeling them. I can't say. That would be above my pay grade, obviously. But the next time we get her on, we'll ask her. Maybe what we should do is get you both in for Plonk of the Week, because that's the kind of question you could ask her once you've had a couple of glasses of bubbly of some description, right? So what have you been up to this week otherwise to be so exhausted? It's been a weird one, isn't it?
It has been. I mean, the start of the week was exhausting after having to listen to the King of the North droning on about his glorious rise to the supreme leader of Great Britain, as he thinks he is. So that was tiring Monday. Tuesday was just a busy day. Wednesday, I was in London all day filming and doing some other stuff. And then yesterday, London, and a stop in Cirencester on the way home. I think I got home at about... Well, I got home at some ungodly hour this morning that man should only see once in a day, not twice. But I had to be here because Friday morning is incredibly important for me to be able to come and speak with you and to see everybody and share what I
and
do.
you know what? I know, because I've been quite remiss about this, because we had to sort of reshuffle things around because we're trying to do Plank of the Week in the last half hour on a Friday. And for the first time since we've reshuffled it, I've actually got a chance to talk to you, because normally I come to you and go, right, we've got no time, so just get on with your bleeding sermon, you know. Just get on. So we've actually got a bit of breathing space today because I'm like you. The days kind of flood into to one another, and somebody mentioned this week to me when we were talking about Manchester and Manchesterism and Andy Burnham claiming that it's such a sort of great place to be, that you had been to Piccadilly Gardens, and I don't know whether they were confusing that with you going out on the streets of Liverpool, but have you been to Piccadilly Gardens and done the things there?
Not recently. My last time in Manchester was several years ago. Burnham was mayor at the time, so not much has changed other than it's gone downhill, I suppose. But I do actually have Manchester on my radar, because having been out in the streets with the Guardians in Liverpool, I want to go see Manchester to see what's going on there, because the reports coming in are equally as harrowing as some of the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, as I'm sure you have on social media, clips of Manchester Piccadilly Gardens on a Friday, Saturday night, and I'm pretty sure I've walked through it because one of my kids is up there. I'm going up to bring him back down after finishing his degree at Salford University, and whenever I've been there, it's not an easy place to get around, but not least because the public transport system doesn't work very well. The traffic's always really bad. The trams are kind of in disrepair half the time, and it's not. You know, he's kind of rode in on this, you know, great white steed as if he's the conquering hero of the North, and he's really not.
No, he's not. Manchester, to me, at the moment, is an absolutely atrocious place, a direct result as of many of the Labour-controlled areas. My brother was a student. My youngest brother was a student in Manchester. He was attacked one night just walking home. The attackers left him with epilepsy because two youngsters of Asian appearance, and I'm not speculating, it's what you could see on the CCTV footage from the police, just come out of nowhere behind him and smacked him in the head with a brick. Stole his wallet, stole his phone, and just left him on the floor. The police found him, and he was taken to hospital. So Manchester has fairly good memories for him as a student, but quite awful memories after his time there before moving back to Wales. And it's something we're seeing all across the country. You know, Lauren was talking about it. People coming here with no intention of assimilation, and trying to turn these cities into their own regions. We see it in Birmingham, or certain areas of Birmingham. We've seen it in Manchester. We see it in Liverpool, Leeds, Bradford is particularly, Rotherham, you name it. And that's spreading further south. And on top of that, I have another massive concern because I happen to be a taxpayer and a voter. I don't remember being asked if I wanted number 10 in the north and an extra tax burden. Right. And I don't remember being asked by the Prime Minister if I think more devolution is a good idea. I was opposed to devolution in the first place. So here we have another Prime Minister come in with a relatively same attitude of Starmer. I'm going to do what I want, whether I've got a mandate or not. And I find that, you know, the United Kingdom is probably in the most unique moment in its political history, because never have we taken the worst prime minister in political history, gotten rid of him, and then replaced him with someone who is, far worse.
Yeah, far worse with a smile. Because I've actually said this, that you know, for all of Starmer's faults, kind of what you see is what you get. You know, he looks like an automaton, a robotic kind of, you know, hopeless, incapable man of communicating with ordinary people. You can't imagine him. Although as he sort of started to relax a bit in the later sort of days of his premiership, he appeared to be somebody that you could actually have a conversation with. But you know, the trouble with people like Burnham is that, you know, he's the guy he's pulling you a pint in the pub, and he's a lovely man, and as soon as you've walked the other way, he's stabbing you in the back and robbing you. You know, because that's the kind of charlatan that he is. So I'd, in a way, rather Stalin, as I like to call him, than Burnham, because at least with Stalin, you kind of know what he's like.
Yeah. Burnham is a real. I mean, I'm trying to work out what he stands for. He's flipped and flopped so many times in positions, and the roles that he's had in politics, and the people he's aligned himself with, and you know, he's got more flip flops than the Havaianas factory. So it's just, it really is. I think we're in for a real rocky road, and if he thinks that, you know, capping bus fares in England at £2 and knocking 35 quid off my VAT for my electricity bill for the next quarter is going to convince me that I should be voting for him to be the great redeemer of the United Kingdom. He's got a long, long way to go yet. But like every one of them, we still don't hear him mentioning that great immigration debate that needs to be resolved, which is, you know, one of the principal problems we have in the United Kingdom. Well,
it's like he doesn't know any words that begin with M. Or I, or even, you know, he doesn't. Migrants, no, don't mention those. I mean, we've got now these super boats coming across with 150 odd people on them. You know, it's not a small boat anymore. It's a bloody big boat, and there's an awful lot of people coming on it. You know.
Yeah, I know it's a sad state of affairs, because fixing that problem is really easy. You know, they keep blaming the ECHR, they keep blaming the Human Rights Act. There is nothing in the European Convention on Human Rights that prevents the United Kingdom from removing illegal migrants. I have been through it time after time after time. We have 4 immigration acts in the UK since the early 70s. All 4 categorize illegal immigration as the perpetuator needs to be immediately detained and deported. And we've had consecutive governments since Blair that have openly ignored the law of the land.
Yeah.
So, there's no getting round it. We have successive governments that are complicit in the state the country is in and the number of people pouring in. And I say this both as a Christian minister and as a Christian myself. I have a concern about migration, not just because of the number of people coming in, but because of the kind of lengths that ordinary people trying to get a better life, not the fighting age males that predominantly are putting their lives at extraordinary risks. Lauren was talking about it when you were interviewing, women and children being thrown overboard halfway across the English Channel because they're no longer needed, or they're classed as second class citizens. We're not doing enough to protect the innocent in this, but also to deal with the actual problem. And then on top of that, we have almost the same amount of people entering the country legally and never leaving when their visa expires or when their time in the UK is up. We have to change the whole system. And Scripture is very, very clear. It is not wrong of a nation to protect and defend its borders.
Yeah, absolutely right. Bish, listen, it's been great to be able to talk to you for some length of time, because we always like to hear your thoughts on all manner of things. But let's get to the meat of the matter. Let's get to the sermon for the week, because there's been a lot to discuss, a lot to think about. Let's hear what you've got to say.
Thank you, Mike. Well, today I thought we could all deal with a little dose of medicine that helps us to be strong and to be courageous. The Scripture says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." We find that in the book of Joshua in the first chapter. And then St. Paul writes these incredible words to the church, to the Philippian church. "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." This morning, my brothers and sisters, I recognize there are moments in every life when the road ahead seems impossibly steep. A diagnosis might arrive, a business might fail, a marriage is under strain, or the nation appears to be losing its bearings. And the future that once looked so bright suddenly becomes very dark, very clouded, and very uncertain. And in those moments, for most of us, fear comes knocking. And fear is one of the oldest weapons of the enemy of our faith. It whispers things like, "You're not enough. You're going to fail. You'll never recover. The battle you're going through is too great." But throughout Scripture, God speaks a very different language. Again and again, he says to us, "Do not fear." Now, that's not because danger doesn't exist, and it's not because suffering isn't real. He says it because his presence is greater than both of these. Joshua understood this. Moses, the greatest leader Israel had ever known, was dead, and now an entirely new generation stood looking across the River Jordan towards the Promised Land. Before them stood fortified cities, experienced armies, unknown dangers, and everything about the situation should have terrified Joshua. Yet, God doesn't begin by explaining every obstacle. He doesn't hand Joshua a detailed battle plan. Instead, he gives him something infinitely greater. "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." Notice where that courage comes from. Not from self-confidence, not from positive thinking, not from pretending everything will somehow magically and mysteriously work out. Biblical courage is confidence in the presence of God. Joshua wasn't fearless because he was strong. Joshua became strong because God was with him. My brothers, my sisters, that changes everything. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is deciding that God's promises are more believable than your fears. The Apostle Paul understood this too. He writes those famous words that we've just read. "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." Those words are often quoted by athletes before a race or students before an exam. But Paul wasn't sitting in comfort when he wrote them to us. He was sat in a prison. He had known hunger. He had known rejection. The Apostle Paul had been beaten. He had been shipwrecked. He had faced unbelievable betrayal. And yet somehow he could still declare that Christ was enough. Paul isn't saying Christians can achieve every ambition. Far from it. He's saying that whatever Christ calls us to face, Christ will supply the strength to endure. Now notice the difference. The strength does not come from within us. It comes from him. That is the great lie of modern culture. Our world constantly tells us to believe in yourself. Yet the Gospels tell us something far better. For they teach us to believe in Christ. Because, my brothers, my sisters, there will be days when believing in yourself simply isn't enough. Your strength will fail. Your emotions will collapse. Your confidence will disappear. But Jesus Christ remains exactly the same yesterday, today, and forever. He never grows weary. He never loses control. He never abandons his people. And that means no circumstance that you will ever face has the final word. So perhaps today you're listening whilst carrying a burden nobody else knows about. Perhaps you're going through tremendous grief. Perhaps you're frightened. Perhaps you're wondering whether you'll make it through this weekend or make it through another week. My brothers, my sisters, hear the voice of God to you today. Be strong and courageous. Not because life is easy, but because God is faithful. Not because tomorrow is guaranteed, but because God's mercy is new every morning. Not because you can see the whole path laid out before you, but because God walks every single step of it with you. When David stood before Goliath, God was there. When Daniel entered the lion's den, God was there. When the 3 Hebrew children entered the fiery furnace, God was already waiting inside. When Christ walked out of the empty tomb, he proved once and for all that even death itself cannot overcome the purposes of Almighty God. That same Christ, risen, now walks beside his people today. So, my brothers, my sisters, whatever this day brings, walk into it with courage. Walk into it with hope. Walk into it with faith, because the God who called Joshua still commands courage. The Christ who strengthened St. Paul still strengthens his church. And the Holy Spirit who raised Christ Jesus from the dead still dwells within every believer. So today, my brothers, my sisters, lift up your head, stand a little taller, pray a little bolder, love a little deeper, hope a little stronger. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And because Christ is with you, you can face tomorrow. God bless you.
God bless you too, and brilliant as ever, Kai.
Why don't
Bishop
you relax?
Kai Dewar. Thank you so much. We'll see you next Friday. Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Got any plans?
I'm up in London on Sunday.
Are you?
Enough. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm heading to Talk TV in the morning and then the Dan Wootton Show in the afternoon.
Fantastic stuff. Give them both my regards. I won't be here, unfortunately. I'll be down in Sussex and see my dog, who I missed last weekend because I didn't get down there. But
have a wonderful week and enjoy the weather.
I will. Thank you very much indeed. Bishop Kai Dewar, what a guy. Superb. Thank you, as ever. What a fantastic sermon and what a fantastic lesson for all of us there. We've got Plank of the Week to come with Mark Littlewood and Paul Cox, I believe. Super Chats to come as well. Let's have a look at some of those, shall we? What do you think? One from Seaside Babe. I had to take an English test to get into Canada. Not a French one then. Obviously you won't go to Montreal. Vive le Quebec libre. Simon Kilford, thank you very much indeed, as ever. One from Judas Goat. Here in the US, some states now have an option to seek the death penalty for child sexual abusers. I'm in Texas and support the death penalty only for the most egregious of crimes. Great show, Mike. Yeah, I remember when George Bush Sr., I think it was, came into to power in the White House. I think, was it him or was it his son, George W. Bush? I can't remember. But one of them just went through a massive execution program and had about 320 people on death row executed more or less in a month before he took over in the White House. So just to put a little marker out there. The Shepherd says this: our government is a prime example of AI. All the cabinet's intelligence is artificial. I see what you did there. Yeah, I know. But the trouble is what they're not good at is learning on the job. Because they get better as they do the job, they get worse, don't they? Should we have news, or should we just go straight to Plank of the Week?
Straight into it.
Straight.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with your host and show creator, Mike Graham.
And so, here we are. Welcome to Mr. Mark Littlewood, wearing another lovely shirt, and Paul Cox as well. We've decided, basically, that you guys are the best panel we can get together. So, Fred, we're going to just keep using you and abusing you for the rest of the time, because you seem to work very well together. I was planning to just basically make, for the first time ever, all 10 nominees only from either the outgoing or incoming governmental ministers' portfolio. But then Gary Lineker came out of the blue and decided that he wanted to pay more tax, or at least make everybody else pay more tax. And then Stella Creasy kind of wandered out of the jungle of Walthamstow Park and discovered that she was in complete and utter plank. So it's still mostly, for me, all of the different names and categories of minister, outgoing and incoming. For example, you'd have to get David Lammy for outgoing, and you'd have to get Louise Haigh for incoming. And there's many others as well. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to let you, Mark Littlewood, kick off with the one and only Stella Creasy, because I suppose what we should do is, first of all, play the original Sin, right? The first actual video that she put out, which has now been deleted, by the way, of her discovering a parakeet in a park.
Walthamstow, up there is a parrot. If you have lost a parrot, not a parakeet, there is a parrot on the loose in Lloyd Park. It's right now, it's about 4:30, and we're in
When was the last time, if ever, have you had any alcohol?
What do you call me a complete...
I haven't called you a
You support not just the populist right, but the far right, in fact, very fringe parties in some countries.
No, I support the normal people.
Okay.
What do you call the far right?
You support not just the populist right, but the far right, in fact, very fringe parties in some countries.
No, I support the normal people.
Okay.
What do you call the far right? Falsely.
You think is the normal person. Okay.
Yes. Literally, you could go back 10 or 15 years, and these policies were completely normal. In fact, one of the tricks that I think is funny. One thing that's quite funny is to like take a speech from Obama and Hillary, and then go to someone and say, who's sort of on the sort of what I call the lunatic left, and say, what do you think of the speech by Trump? I'm like, oh wow, he's the worst person ever. Actually, that was a speech by Obama, or actually, that was a speech by Hillary.
minister, and in fact she's going to wait until she gets sacked again, and then she'll be able to, it's a double or quits. It'll be like 34,000 she gets for being sacked twice as housing minister, and who knows, maybe she can get the triple and get in 3 times. It's just incredible, isn't it? And I mean, I've got Paul, I've got any number of other people that you could name. Rachel Reeves, Wes Streeting. I've got Wes Streeting because he's the least likely person you'd put in charge of defence. I mean, I don't understand who came up with that idea. Ed Miliband, who put out a tweet yesterday from the Philippines about how he'd met Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio put out several tweets about all the people he met at this sort of Pan-Pacific conference that they're all at, except he didn't put out the tweet that he met Ed Miliband, which was really quite funny. Have you got that clip?
Oh my God!
Oh yeah. We'll come. Yeah, well, hang on. Let's have a look at this. This is another clip. This is the U.S. ambassador being very ambassadorial about Ed Miliband.
As you said, you disagreed with him on energy policy. I imagine you disagree with him on his views towards your boss, President Trump. He said the ideas that we have shared values with a racist, misogynistic, self-confessed groper beggars belief.
Yeah, I've read those. Those were some time ago, I think, and hopefully his views have changed. I think
those were 2016. 2 years later, he said Donald Trump has lowered the bar for idiocy. He said Donald Trump has a peculiar relationship with Russia. Can he really be our top diplomat dealing with America?
Like I said, I think people's view of President Trump in 2016 is probably a lot different than it is in now 2025 and going forward. So, or 26 even. I'm sorry, wrong year. And we're, I would suspect his views have changed on President Trump, but I haven't.
Warren Stevens there, a diplomat's diplomat, brilliant man. Unfortunately, doesn't know what year it is, but apart from that,
Go on, Mark. Go on.
He just had an impossible job, right? So you get read something like, this bloke is a psychopathic groper. You say, well, yeah, but he did say that quite some time ago.
Yeah. Didn't mean it. No. Yeah,
it was just banter. So yeah, I don't envy him. I don't envy him that job whatsoever. But yeah, look, I think it's going to be pretty frosty relations between the UK and the Trump administration, don't we think? I think it's going to be a bit icier than it was under Starmer, even.
Well, I'm hoping that Andy Burnham goes to the White House with a black T-shirt on and gets the Zelensky treatment in the Oval Office. That's what I'm hoping for.
Joyous.
Smarten up, you toe rag. Look, I mean, I'm sure he's changed. I'm sure he's changed his mind since then. I'm sure he hasn't actually. Absolutely not.
No.
And do you know what? I'd have a lot more admiration for these people if they said, "No, I've not changed my mind. I think he is all these things," but they won't. They won't because they meant it, and they're going to be people pleasing Donald Trump because now they're in this new job. I mean, the guy who used to be chief net zero zealot is now flying all around the world to tell people what he thinks of Donald Trump or whatever. Yeah. The irony is off the scale. We're not serious as a country anymore. I mean, Ed Miliband has literally been given this role to get him out of London, I think, not because anybody thinks he's a serious candidate for foreign secretary. And we know we don't take foreign secretary seriously because we've had David Lammy in there before. I mean, we just have an array of absolute dullards that don't have any, I don't know, they don't have any backbone. They're not British. I don't understand anything about these people.
Yeah. Also, I think the other reason is that Andy Burnham doesn't actually have a passport because he doesn't go anywhere other than north. North, and if you can't go there by bus, I'm not going. Not going. And I'm waiting for the northern episode of the passport office to open up so I can get a Northern England passport, not a British one. That's what I think. So I think he's actually deliberately just sending Miliband out there, to make enemies. Argentina. Mark, and that has to be. And I've got to run this by you. And I know we haven't got loads of time, but the Southampton spying scandal made its way to the front page of the Times this week because the manager of Southampton has now been charged, I think, with in some form of jiggery-pokery, hiding behind a tree.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine the paucity of intelligence at Southampton Football Club that they need to spy on some very, very lowly teams to try and beat them.
I didn't give Mike these words, by the way, Mark. This is Mike's words, all on his own. I have not.
Cox is loving every single.
Mike Graham is not influenced by me at all.
Yeah,
but do answer the question.
I'm
Mark.
not a Portsmouth fan, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah, look, I mean, my God, if you want to see how a punishment beating can be dished out in football, look no further than the case of Southampton Football Club. Crying out loud, we beat Middlesbrough on the pitch and then are ejected from the most expensive game in team sport. It now looks possible that the manager will be suspended from the game for 6 months. And all of this is because we sent an intern to stand by a tree with a pair of binoculars. If only FIFA had dished out punishments like this to cheating teams in the World Cup, England
like
might have
Argentina.
won it, mate. Right?
Nicely done.
The other 47
Nicely done.
would have been expelled. So yeah, I feel a little bit hard done by. But proper football's back this weekend. Epic game at 7 p.m. on Saturday. Southampton are away to the mighty Eintracht Braunschweig. I can barely wait to watch that on the Southampton.
Is that in the Club Europa, Mediterranean, whatever it's called?
Yeah. Very obscure competition. Trust me.
What's the name again, Mark? Eintracht
Braunschweig. Yeah,
Braunstein.
You haven't heard of them, Paul. You
I was listening.
A football show. I took you on under false pretences.
Hearts and
Surely you know
Hibs.
their record over recent.
I just wanted to say Brownstein, Mark. Okay, I've got to squeeze a joke in somewhere.
I'm going to start supporting them, I think. I mean, I've never had an interest in Brownstein Football Club before, but I think it just sounds like it's worth supporting. Because I've seen Hearts and Hibs have been playing some obscure teams this week in the Challenge Cup Europa, front seat in the cinema scenario, whatever it is. Yes, anyway. Mark, over to you, Paul.
Yeah,
we've
Argentina.
You haven't finished Argentina. Yeah, go on.
No, you were encouraging me to nominate Southampton, weren't you, Mike?
Sorry, I was trying to draw the two together.
So look, Argentina lost the disgraceful team in the World Cup. Lost to Spain with absolutely no dignity at all, even though it was essentially a 1-0 thrashing. When Spain were awarded the trophy, all but one of the Argentinian players turned their backs on the Spanish and just, who were awarded the trophy on the halfway line and just looked at their fans behind the goal. That was pretty difficult. Although an excuse has been made for that. Some people have said that the Argentina players were just staring at the Spanish goal because they'd got nowhere near it during the 120 minutes of the actual World Cup final. They wanted to know what it looked like. But here's even weirder, Mike, right? Since losing the World Cup final deservedly and disgracefully, the Argentinian sort of football fans have started a petition saying they want it to be replayed because the FIFA officials were against them. I mean, I have no idea what parallel universe these people are living with. They were given every assistance at every turn in the World Cup, got them all the way to the final, finally beaten by a team who are enormously superior to them. But no, the Argentinians want it replayed according to 80,000 people have signed this petition by change.org, although more people have actually signed a petition saying Argentina should be kicked out of the next World Cup. So Argentina as a whole, the players, the country, the fans, the public, even more entitled than a Labour backbencher, Mike. Very clanky behaviour.
Absolutely. And I see that there's a move, I think, by some to ban any Argentinian player who held that banner up for the Malvinas for coming back to play in the Premier League. I'm not sure.
I think that's a really good plan. I mean, the other thing, I'm genuinely and quite seriously looking into this. If your work status can be revoked because the Home Secretary determines you are not conducive to the public good,
yes,
then why would that not apply to Argentinian players who are saying that the Falklands belong to Argentina? Seems to me that you should get your work visa revoked for that sort of behaviour. So if Shabana Mahmood wants to show that she really has got the cojones, that she is a tough Home Secretary, can you imagine a more popular move by the Home Secretary and the new
Can I
government.
just say that we do
ban
not
the
want
Argentinians.
We do not want female Labour ministers proving they've got the cojones, because I've got a feeling some of them might do.
Yeah, that's not a great department to move into, is it? Sticking with football, Paul, Gary Lineker coming up on the rails as just when you thought that he'd given up being a wanker, he's re-entered the race.
He is the perennial Champions League wanker, isn't he, really? Gary Lineker, who wants to bring in a wealth tax alongside Gary, the economist. What's his name, Mark? Oh, my God.
The guy from Patriotic Millionaires, yeah.
Oh, Stevenson,
Gary Stevens.
Yeah. Or, as I like to call him, Gary the charlatan.
Yeah, he's not an economist.
No, he's not an economist.
I just
not even sure he's human.
Mark and I have never had this discussion about Gary the economist, but I could tell that there's no way on God's earth that Mark believes in his economic prowess.
No.
But look, Gary Lineker wants to introduce a wealth tax, and him and Gary and other millionaires have put themselves forward and said, please tax us more. They're not saying that. What they're saying is, we envy the billionaires and we want you to tax them more.
Yes.
And they don't take into account anything about these billionaires in terms of their wealth creation, the fact that they don't own, like, for instance, Elon Musk. He hasn't got $2 trillion in the bank. He's probably got, it's a lot of money, but he's probably got no more than about $1 billion in cash hanging around, and the rest is assets, shares, and investments in his own business. It's not immediately available to them. And at the same time, they are generating hundreds of millions, if not billions of pounds in taxes across the world because of the job creation.
Yeah.
They can't look beyond that. Whereas people like Gary Lineker and Gary the Wanker, they are creating no wealth whatsoever.
No.
Sorry, I've forgotten.
No, it's fine. Also, the slight hole in Gary Lineker's argument is that a few years ago he was taken to court by HMRC to pay about a £4 million backdated cheque for some money that he'd forgotten to pay in tax. And he fought them all the way and won the case. And he had the opportunity. He could have just given them the £4 million, but instead he spent about probably 100,000 quid paying lawyers to make sure he didn't have to pay up.
He avoided a shed load of tax when he went to Barcelona as well.
Yeah.
Mark could probably tell you that.
Yeah, it's absolutely extraordinary, Mike. So Gary Lineker comes out and says, I really think that the government should try and get people like me to pay more tax. To which the response is, Gary, we tried that a few years ago and you goddamn sued us. What more do you want? We sent you the bill and you refused to pay and lawyered up. There's only so much effort we can put into this, Gary. And you
the good news is we did a poll this week on who's your favourite Gary, and Gary Glitter actually came higher than Gary Lineker. Despite his various in flagrante scenarios. We're pretty much out of time, but I had Lord Hermer, I had Rachel Reeves, I had Andy Burnham, I had David Lammy, I had Keir Starmer, all kind of rolled into one, I suppose you could say, because they all are part of this hopeless, ghastly, useless Labour government, both outgoing and incoming. I don't think it really makes any difference. But I think it's got to be done. It's got to be said, because, she doesn't get there very often. I think it's got to be Stella Creasy and the Parakeets this week, isn't it? She is by far and away, I think, head and shoulders and beak above everybody else, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. The most planky behaviour we've seen for a while, Mike. A very deserved winner.
Yeah, and I think there's a pretty good chance that she'll tweet about it. When I put out the fact that she's won Plank of the Week, she'll probably claim some kind of terrible, discrimination case against me and hire all sorts of lawyers to, stop me harassing her or something in Walthamstow. I'm thinking of going to Walthamstow actually soon, just to wander around in the park and see if I can meet her.
The park's got an island as well, Mike. I didn't realise that. So
the island section is intriguing, isn't it? The Walthamstow Park Island. You kind of go in. The last island I saw in Walthamstow was a bus island when you come out the tube. That's all there is, But anyway,
listen. Much more glamorous than I remember it, for sure. Yeah. But Mike, you should go there, wander around, and just ask everybody. Say that you've lost your parrot, and has anybody seen it?
Maybe I'll get one of those, those comedy parrots, and just stick it on my shoulder and walk around. with the pirate's hat on. Actually, this is a great idea. We're going to do that next week. So we're going to do
That is
it.
a great idea.
Paul Cox, Mark Littlewood, brilliant to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Brilliant World Cup as well, by the way. I can say that again. Plank of the week is Stella Creasy. Well done, Stella. Paces of 8. Paces of 8. Paces of 8. Plank of the week. See you later. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, hi there. Good morning. Pretty lively show this morning, actually. Lots going on. We've got coming up Rosie Shepherd. She's the sister of a woman who was killed by a drunk driver. Described in court, the driver, who was, I think, 70-odd, a shocking example, as the drunkest he had ever seen in his career. The guy was 4 times over the limit. He smashed into a couple of girls, women walking home. One was injured, but the other, this lady is the sister, died. So he got, I think, 7 years, for that, which I think drunk driving where you have killed somebody, I don't think 7 years is reasonable, because the way that these things work out, you get released much earlier than 7 years. You might be out in 3 or whatever. Anyway, she has just learned, this is Rosie Shepherd, has just learned that the killer, and that's what he is, he's a killer. He used 2 tons of car while out of control, and he used it and killed that poor girl. I think she's 20. Is likely to be released under the early release scheme, which has now been paused. Now, you would have thought, wouldn't you, that as the mayor of Manchester, he would have had a view about the early release scheme anyway. He's only got a view about it because it looks as though the public have a very strong view about what's happening. And suddenly, 2 scum from the traveller community were going to be released, and that's been put on pause, and I suspect they're not going to come out, and I hope they never come out. Actually, they got 13 years, let them serve the 13 years. And actually, theirs was such a serious case, the way they killed PC Harper, that you could claim, actually, kind of have some retrospective law, because a law has now been passed called Harper's Law, whereas if you kill an emergency worker who's in pursuit of their job, you will get a life sentence. Well, I wonder, with the PC Harper law, whether we're actually, with it having been passed through the Commons, we go back to these guys and say, your luck's changed, you couple of killing swine. You're now going to stay for 25 years. Something has got to show these people that criminality has a massive price. Rosie Shepherd would explain why she would like that killer slumped. You'll see a video, slumped over the wheel. Right.
Can you play now, Kelvin?
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to have it on when Rosie's here. It might be too distressing.
Okay.
Play now.
When was the last time, if ever, have you had any alcohol?
Why do you call me a complete...
I haven't called you a When was the last time you had any alcohol, Malcolm?
Well, why did you call?
Okay. Malcolm, I'm going to make a requirement for you to provide me with a specimen of breath because you've been involved in a road traffic collision. Failing the breath test or failing to do the breath test will leave you liable to arrest. Are you going to provide a specimen of breath, Malcolm?
It's possible, left arm, left wrist, pain,
Okay.
Did you call me a...
No, I didn't, Malcolm. All right. Malcolm, I'm going to say something to you now, and it's very important that you listen, all right? I'm aware that you're under arrest on suspicion of being unfit, okay, through drink or drugs. I'm now going to be arresting you on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving and causing death by being under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
So when you look at that, what on earth was he doing behind the wheel of a car? He had enough nastiness in him to accuse a police officer of calling him the C word. Actually, to my mind, he is a C. And actually, 7 years. So I wonder, when you're a judge, you're so inured to crime coming before you, hearing disgusting stories of people's lives being snuffed out, that you actually lose any humanity. And in the end of the day, it's just a matter of words either being spoken or being written down. And on that basis, would it be wiser to have input from people who have actually listened to it, almost the jury, saying, actually, our advice on this, sir, is that this driver should get 20 years or 25 years? You're a judge. How many cases do you hear of the dark side of life, to the point where can you genuinely have a view that hasn't been infected or shaped by looking at the scum in front of you every day? So take that guy there, completely hammered, totally 100% hammered. How did he ever get into a car? Who allowed him to get into a car? A vile piece of work, accusing a police officer of the C word when he was just trying to kind of manufacture a kind of defense. You can hear it now, can't you? So he wasn't that stupid. Do you know what I mean? And would it have been better if the officer had actually stood up and said, do you know, that was the most, he did say, the most drunk I've ever seen. And my advice, this bloke should be kept off the roads forever. For instance, this guy was in his 70s. It wasn't as though, I'm not trying to make a defense of this at all, but it wasn't as though he was in his early 20s and he was a plasterer for a living or a brickie or something and gone out with some mates and, crossed the line there. This guy had had a lifetime of knowing right from wrong, or perhaps never knowing right from wrong. Anyway, we've got Rosie Shepherd coming up to talk us through about that issue. Joining me now is Mike Graham. Very good to see you, Mike.
Very good morning to you. I've got something to announce to you. We just hit 33 million views.
Fantastic. On the Mike Graham show?
Yes. Well, just on the Mike Graham show
Fantastic.
YouTube channel. So in 6 months, that's not bad going, I think.
No, I mean, you've been a stunning success. The only downside to your success is that some of us are in the shadow of the valley.
But it's all getting up there, though, because it's a collaboration, right?
And it is a collaboration. I hope it's a collaboration. What seems to be happening, though, the Mike Graham show seems to be making effortless uplift, whereas the MacKenzie show seems to be bumming out. Right. So I have a story to tell.
Go on.
And it won't be an unusual story. I was shooting a piece to camera. This must be at least a decade ago.
Right.
At a place called Blackheath Hill.
I know Blackheath.
Right. And at the bottom of Blackheath, there are lights.
Yeah.
And I was shooting the piece. It was for some nondescript piece of television, right? But network television.
Right.
Not very interesting. And I was doing my piece, but there are traffic lights there. Truck draws up. Guy leans across the road, winds it down, right in the middle of the piece to camera, shouts out, "Wanker!" Right. The reason I'm telling this story is because Nigel Farage, one of the great moments for Nigel Farage, was that lady winding down the window. Yeah, okay, watch this.
This is
Well, just send a couple of people over.
She won't be doing that again.
Now, you know what this is? This is the resurgence of Nigel Farage. Because when something like that happens, he's been in such a terrible place for about the last 3 weeks, right? Everyone's going, this is great, brilliant. And now everybody likes him again.
Correct. Well, so wanker. So, anyway, truck driver leans out the window, shouts out wanker, completely destroying the piece to camera.
Of course.
Okay, rebased it, woman producer there, do it again. Come down there, just 20 yards back there, typical piece to camera. I get down to the thing like that, truck draws up, bloke down there, wanker!
Yeah.
Right. Well, I presume they were aiming at me and not the woman producer.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Or somebody else wandering around. Anyway, unbelievably, for the third time.
No.
Right? And just 20 yards back there, wanker! Right, at that, the woman producer says, we'll give it one more go, right? And then we're going to have to find a quiet wanker-free spot, okay?
A car park.
So I go back there. Just 20 yards back there, suddenly the truck draws up, the window comes down, the truck driver leans out and shouts, "Tosser!" At that, the woman producer turns to me and said, "Well, at least you've gone up market, right?" and it was at that moment that I knew that I had finally found my prey, that I am very likely to have been a wanker. And actually, people enjoy it. It gives them some fun in the day.
It does.
You may be a wanker. You may not be a wanker. But the truth about the matter is that there are truck drivers who do a bloody good job for our country, creating a lot of wealth for us all, making things really interesting. Actually, it's a great joy.
It is. And also, they'll go to, and each of those four people will have gone to the pub that night and gone, you never guess what happened to me today. I saw that wanker Kelvin MacKenzie, and I told him as well that he was. And so there's another 10 people that now know that you're doing this stuff. And you might build up the audience, you know. I mean, go on.
3 things you probably already know about me. I go to a lot of gigs, I do like a pint, and I have been known to give a DJ set from time to time. Well, today's announcement is very close to my heart. I'm giving thousands of pubs, clubs and music venues a 20% cut in their business rates. These places deserve my support, our support, and they're getting it. So maybe I should do another DJ set soon to celebrate. Cheers and have a good weekend, everyone.
Forget about, most of us don't know about politics, and actually we don't like them. And on the Labour side, if you're a Labour MP, you're getting promoted. You earn bugger all, you work for a trade union, you work for the local council, you did some shocking bloody job, right? And suddenly you're making 95 grand a year. And not only that, people are actually listening to what you've got to say. Whereas previously, actually, it's old Tom, he's the company bore. All right, let's get the hell out of here. Now they're forced to listen to it. The idea of the drink, that is a Farage idea.
But doesn't he remind you, though, of those awful kind of people from, like, marketing who used to come into the office, you know, back in the sort of 90s without wearing a tie? They have a suit on, but no tie. And it'd be like, all right, you know. And then suddenly everybody's not wearing a tie. And that's the only thing that bothers me about that.
It's when I saw Murdoch not wearing a tie, I knew that that was the end of that.
And Plimsolls. I saw him. Last time I saw him. I was, and I'm probably going to be damned to hell now by Rebecca Brooks and others.
Actually, you'll be meeting her there.
He was walking out, and as I arrived, I could see that there was a bit of a frisson, you know, a couple of Range Rovers, a couple of doors open, and I went, "Is somebody?" Oh yeah, Rupert's coming out. And he now wears like trainers because obviously it's more comfortable.
No, I think he's got bad feet.
And probably because he's got bad feet. He's about 180 years old.
And it's also for kicking people up the arse.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go on.
And he just was walking out on his own. And I just thought to myself, you know, I got great admiration for him. He's an incredible businessman, incredible guy. You know him better than I do. But it was just kind of, I just thought, I don't know. Sorry, the trainers don't do it for me. You know, you got to wear proper shoes.
The great thing about Murdoch is that when the new wife came along, and they're like, but literally like buses, because there's a period of time when there isn't one, and then suddenly there seems to be 2 or 3 very quickly, right? They dress him. Right. So 1 minute he's looking like he's come straight out of Moss Brothers.
Yeah.
And the next minute, he looks as though he's kind of drifted in from some rather aged rock concert, right?
Silicon Valley.
Wearing a black kind of leather boots on. Right. Honestly.
There was no suit going on. It was like trainers, sort of, you know, chinos.
He will be anybody that somebody else wants them to be.
Yeah.
He stays who he is inside it.
Right.
And then at the end of it, the other person is very surprised when they receive a text saying the marriage is over. There is plenty to be done.
Yeah.
Fancy sending... Right, all right.
Jerry Hall one was amazing,
I admire Jerry Hall. All right, her payoff must have been enormous.
Yeah.
If she wanted to put the bullet in for Rupert, I would think that would be compelling stuff.
Yeah.
And to receive a text saying that marriage, I mean, I'm hardly, actually, I am an expert, actually.
Well, you are.
I'm a divorce expert.
But you've never actually had your lawyers tell somebody it's all over, have you?
No, I have not. No, that is it. Well, also by text.
Right.
So you're going through it like that. You wait. Right. I'm sure this isn't true in Jerry Hall's case, but you're going through it here, looking at your Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, there's a
Vodafone
Facebook
bill.
posting from Auntie May. She's doing well. Hello. What's this one? The marriage is over. I've got plenty to do. Thanks very much. You write back saying, I thought we loved each other, which is what she did. He writes back and saying, look, just contact your lawyers, will you, please? I mean, come on, Ruben.
Yeah.
You know, you're. No, I was going to say you're better than that. Yeah. No, actually, the truth about the matter is you're worse than that. And but look, she did well. She got a huge house.
I got one of those out of the blue the other day from some lawyer who claimed to be representing that bloke. You've gone on TV with him actually. You know, that guy Kevin Craig.
The PR guy,
the Labour PR guy, who apparently had hired Mrs. Sue Grabbit and Run to sue me for something that I tweeted about him. Which I've now dealt with, obviously, because he was barking up the wrong tree. And I was like, thanks very much indeed. You know, please see A, B, C, D, and E, and bugger off, basically. But yeah, I got a WhatsApp out of the blue from some lawyer. We represent Kevin Craig. You've grossly insulted him and libelled him and all this rubbish.
I occasionally put the boot in. Yeah. I actually quite like him. He's a cunning bugger. So this is what happened. I'm on TV with him, right? So Kevin Craig, you'll probably see a picture of him. So I rather like this suit he's wearing. Yeah. He's got a share in a racehorse, right? Okay.
He's quite a very wealthy man, isn't he?
Yeah, and I like him being successful. And the fact he's a socialist indicates that he's had a lobotomy early.
Clearly up to no good. Yeah.
Right? So I said to him, that's a very nice suit. He said, yeah, I'll get it done by a private tailor at the Elephant and Castle, right? It's like a bookie's suit, right?
Yeah.
Very nice, lots of squares and all that. I thought he looked great in it, right? And I said, how much was that? And he goes like that.
Right.
And I said, well, that's not bad, 500 quid.
Yeah.
He said,
5,000.
This is a socialist going on to compete with me, talking about capitalism, right? He's sitting there wearing a 5,000 quid suit. There he is, the man of the moment. Actually, he's a kind of a young-looking Cary Grant.
He looks like a chipmunk.
He's perfectly all right.
He's very fond of himself, clearly.
Yeah, but the thing is, he got the bullet, didn't he, from being a Labour candidate?
Unfortunately,
by betting,
he bet on himself.
I like that about
I did suggest that to his lawyer, that despite the fact that he has been in terrible trouble before, it doesn't seem to have done his reputation any harm whatsoever. So whatever I've said about him, it could be kicked into a cocked hat. Thank you very much indeed. See you later.
Right, well, that's good to hear that. Going ahead and suing people is an expensive aspect. But for Kevin Craig, the thing I like about him, he's got he's made some money. Yeah. He owns a bit of a racehorse, half a racehorse, I think. Very good. I love that. And he likes a punt. And I like the fact that he does a bit look like Deputy Dog, actually. It's quite right. Anyway, and the thing I like about him is that he had a bet on when the general election was going to take place. What's wrong with doing that? I mean, he's hardly got any inside information. He's a Labour candidate.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it matter? I don't think it matters. He should be allowed to have a punt. He actually hangs around. He was at the enormously. They had to hire Wembley Stadium for the goodbye to Starmer Labour apparatchiks, right? Actually, they could get them very comfortably in a matchbox.
Yeah.
Right. And anyway, he was one of those.
Well, they all went down the pub, didn't they?
Yeah.
But he's also now, like most socialists, has transferred his loyalty.
Has he?
Yeah, because he was on the other night at GB News talking about how brilliant Andy Burnham was, and I'm going, that's not bad either. He's literally. I told this story once about Leon Spinks, who I interviewed.
Leon Spinks, the boxer.
The boxer, yeah. Who said that when he went for the second fight with Muhammad Ali, and he was the champion, and they went down to, I think it was New Orleans, they had the fight in, right? And he said he went down with Don King, and Don King was, the big...
Yeah, I love Don King.
Don King.
Love Don King.
He said, he had the fur coat, he had the big belt, he said he had all these women staggering around behind him. There's about 7 or 8 of them. He said, as I was fighting through the rounds, and Ali was clearly winning, he said he could see Don King moving further away from the corner that he was in and closer to the Muhammad Ali corner. He said by the end of the fight, Don King was right in the other end, right? And he said, when I lost, he said, Don King was gone, the women were gone, the car was gone, there was nothing. He said, I walked out, just the only thing I had, and he still had it, was the fur coat. And he had to get a cab back to the hotel, which it turned out Don King hadn't paid for.
Do you know what? That is a great story, and I can't do that.
Right.
But I tell you, watching old Murdoch,
He would do the same.
Yeah.
He's just a sort of slightly.
Yeah, just by the way, not obvious.
No.
Right, obvious. So
No.
I'm managing editor. I'll just tell the story, and then we must go to Rosie.
Right.
Well, I'm managing editor of the New York Post.
Yeah.
Okay. And Murdoch comes down at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I've worked through the bloody night.
Right.
There's no sign of the editor, whose last word to him was, "If you want me, I'll give you a call."
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought, hold on, how do I find? Anyway, so anyway, Murdoch comes in, hates the paper.
Right.
God damn it! Right. So there's me, and the editor, one side of the desk. There's Murdoch the other, shouting away.
Right.
He's shouting. As he's shouting, the editor, Roger Wood, is making his way very slowly round the side of the desk. So he's now standing next to Murdoch, shouting at me. I tell you what, that was a real wake-up call.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, thank you very much,
Not at all.
Mike. A brilliant week for you, man.
Week, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant week for you. No, personally, what you do is utterly
Thank you.
fantastic,
Very kind.
and things are so bad you might be the next Piers Morgan. Anyway, or it could be even worse than that. You might be the next Dan Wootton. Right. Anyway, Dan's coming to the birthday party, so see you then. Right. So that was good fun there from Mike. But on a serious moment now, we have joining us right now Rosie Shepherd. She's the sister of a girl, I think she was 20 years old, who was killed by a drunk driver and who may, at some stage, get an early release now. It's been put on pause by Burnham, but as with most things in politics, they hope that the heat goes out immediately and then everything turns out right. Good morning, Rosie.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, fine, Rosie. Could you just spell out for the viewers who aren't as familiar with the case, obviously, as you are, what happened, where your sister was walking, what this guy did? Perhaps you could tell it just as the court heard it.
Yeah, so she was walking home from work along the A149 in Stalham. She was holding sunflowers for my mum. She always brought flowers home quite often. She was walking with a 16-year-old co-worker, walking along the path next to the main road, which has always been completely safe. We grew up there. And he, this was the 31st of July, so the anniversary will be this time next week.
Right.
And he veered off of the road straight into them. He didn't stop at the scene. He crashed further up into I think it was a sign on the road, and that's where he was stopped by police. And as you saw the body cam footage, my sister, she died on the scene. The other girl luckily she escaped with some injuries. And yeah, we went to court.
How did you find that? How did you find that, Rosie? I mean, this is your sister, right? Are there other siblings, or are there just the two of you? Were there just the two of you?
We have a brother as well.
Okay, so
but I'm the oldest, so
right. Okay, so you go to court. How did you find that when you're listening to the evidence, and you're now looking at the man who has killed your sister? I mean, did he plead guilty?
He did, yes,
right.
but not straight away. I think it was after he'd been charged. There was some suggestion at the time that he didn't remember from being drunk, and so was trying to claim it wasn't him. But I think the evidence, he realised he wasn't going to get away with it. So seeing him for the first time was really hard. I mean, all I did was just stare straight at him. I mean, he didn't really look, but I mean, it's all a bit of a blur that time, to be fair.
Yeah, sure, I understand that. How did you get the impression? Did you get the impression that the killer, this was a lifestyle thing for him, that he had been driving a car like this possibly for 30 or 40 years while drunk? Was this just part of his life? I mean, I can't understand how a man in his 70s could be 4 times over the limit.
Yeah, I didn't. When I was first told, I did not imagine it to be a man of that age.
Yeah.
At all. I mean, but it could be anyone. But I didn't at all think that that's what he would look like and who it was. It was. I don't know much about him as a person, so I don't know if it was a lifestyle choice. I know he claimed it was mental health related.
Oh God.
So,
God.
which to us is very humiliating, because now look at our mental health is all over the place because we've lost our sister and
Correct.
our loved one. So claiming mental health in front of us was just a horrible thing to hear, because it was just a kick in the teeth to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So you've got an anniversary coming up, and then you suddenly see the new Prime Minister, or actually, I'm sorry, the old Prime Minister and the old Justice Secretary had decided that people should be released from jail. And we were told that there would be no killers released, there would be no sexual predators released, no rapists released, and all the rest of it, right? Suddenly we discover that another 2 people who killed an emergency worker are going to be released. A row blows up. And then you discover that very likely this piece of filth who caused so much pain in your family, he too was likely to be released. At which point, I think very bravely, Rosie, you step forward, or your family steps forward and says, this is not acceptable. At that point, the Prime Minister starts putting on the reverse cycle clips.
Yeah, I mean, we had actually heard about this at the middle of June, that he was possibly eligible, and I had reached out for help, and a letter was written to the Ministry of Justice.
Well done you, by the way, Rose.
Which I never got a response for any of my questions.
That's shocking. Shocking.
So it's only now that it is a high-profile case has come about with it that everyone is aware. I mean, I was trying to make people aware, so I'm so grateful that PC Harper's family have gone to the media about it, because now everyone knows what I've been trying to say for a couple of weeks now.
I tell you what, I didn't know that aspect of this case, Rosie. That is shocking. So you, like most of us, right? Most of us don't have any power or any leverage at all. We're nothing, actually. We are nothing. So sending a note is an important part of starting the process. So you send it to the Ministry of Justice, literally, a month ago, and you don't hear, or at least 2 or 3 weeks ago, and you don't hear one single word in response. And yet it must have taken a lot for you and your family to focus on sending that note.
Yeah. I mean, I reached out for help, and luckily I got it in writing, and getting forward to that point where I could write to the Ministry of Justice with the help of my local MP.
Oh right, well that's good. Can we give him a tick then? If he did help you, who was your local MP?
Steph Aquarone.
And I don't know him. Is he on the Labour side or is he on the Conservative side?
He's actually a Lib Dem.
He's a Lib Dem. Okay, so he helps you write the note.
Yeah.
The note then goes on. So and your local MP helps you write the note. You are a grieving sister, a grieving family. You send the note, and the Ministry of Justice don't respond.
No. We still haven't heard, as far as I know, from them regarding that.
Really, that is terrible. So can I ask you one other thing about that sentence? How long was it? Was it 8 years that you got? I
Yes.
think I said 7. I'm sorry for that.
No, it's all right.
When you listen to 8 years, do you think to yourself, actually, we are going to face a lifetime sentence on this?
Yeah, I mean, given that my sister was 20 years old when she was killed, 8 years is like none of her life in retrospect.
Yeah.
We at the time we did go to the Court of Appeals to get the sentence increased, and we were unsuccessful in that. And from my understanding, his sentence was a standard determined sentence. So he was told he had to serve 2/3. We were told his release would be December 2027, no sooner, no later. He wasn't eligible for any other paroles or anything like that. That is what we were told. And that is what we had been working our grief as a family towards. So to then be told, no, what we told you was wrong, we're now doing this, it just doesn't make sense. That why tell a family and have a certain sentencing, which is the SDS, if I'm correct, sentencing, why have that in place if you're then going to change it?
Can I ask you this? If you were the judge, okay? If you were the judge, and I'm just trying to come to a point where a judge is so inured to the horrible people that they see every day that they don't have any kind of emotional kind of reaction to a tragic case like this. If you were the judge, how do you see the sentencing? For instance, they passed Harper's Law so that if an emergency worker was killed from now onwards, they get a mandatory life sentence. This kind of life being snuffed out by a drunk driving a 2-ton car, right? I would have thought something similar should be put into place there. And I wonder, if you were the judge, what would you have given that killer?
Well, I mean, it's probably a bit biased if I was.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Oh, you mean I would have given him life, but because you take a life. But I think drunk driving and death by dangerous driving offences are not high sentencing. Right. They're not, and that's why we complained at the time. And so, yeah, as a judge, you'd look at the impact that it had on the victims and the fact that he was so drunk. I think really they should have really looked more into it and listened to us. And I definitely would have. I would have been very. I always said, I think at the time, I said I would have been happy with anything over 14 years because that just felt a bit better than the 8 that we got.
Yeah, that's very good. One last question. How is your mum?
She's obviously beside herself. She's not great, but she has me and she has my kids around her. So, yeah.
Okay, Rosie, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I think
thank you so much.
Sharing stories like this may mean that one day, perhaps no justice for your family, but there may be other families that benefit from your courage of stepping forward. I am absolutely beside myself that the Ministry of Justice did not respond to you, especially when actually your local representative, your MP, joined in. I find that absolutely disgusting. Okay, well, thank you very much indeed, Rosie. Perhaps we'll keep in touch over time. Thank you very much indeed for sparing the time. Well, that was an enormously upsetting interview. I can't imagine how that family deal with stuff going forward. The fact that some drunken oaf, elderly drunken oaf, you've got the feeling, I've no idea, but I suspect this won't be the first time he would have been absolutely hammered behind the wheel of a car. Such a shame that the idea that they were going to release that guy. Anyway, the good news is he won't be released. They will pass some on this pause. When they come back, they're going to say something like, if you are involved in violence of any kind, then you will have to serve the full 2/3. If this was me, I'm the Justice Minister. I said, I've looked at the thing. We're going to change this. We're going to make it 100%. You're not going to get 2/3. You're not going to be out after 2/3. You're going to stay in for the full 100%. I think that would be right. How brave is that lady, right? I don't know whether she's ever done any TV before, right? And she was holding on to her emotions. Honestly, we owe that guy. We owe that guy. Any pub that serves that guy when he comes out should have their license taken away from them. His car should be taken away from him. His ability to use a car should be taken away from him. I hope his neighbours never speak to him again. He's the guy that called a police officer a C word in order to try and fashion a defence. The guy's a piece of work. After the news, we're going to actually an interesting guy described as the vexed vicar. He's going to talk about how it is that the Christian grip on our society is in big decline, and whether churches are actually any more reflecting what actual people are thinking or how they're acting. After the news.
Good morning. I'm Fiona MacLeod. Day 5 of the Andy Burnham Premiership, and the new Prime Minister is busy proving he's a man of the people, or at least a man of the pub. He's announced a 20% cut in business rates for pubs, clubs and live music venues from next April, saving the average boozer a heroic £1,100 a year. Pubs need to know the cavalry is coming, he declared, which is lovely until you realise it's about £3 a day and the very biggest venues don't even get it. Still, better than a kick in the optics. Meanwhile, the knob of the North nipped up to Glasgow for the Commonwealth Games and promptly told Scotland's First Minister that a second independence referendum is firmly off limits. Devolution is fine, apparently, just not the bit where Scotland gets to decide its own future. Same old problems, slightly cheaper pints, and the nation once again waits to see how long this particular cavalry charge lasts. Remember to like and subscribe. See you later, alligator.
Yeah, hi. It was nice to hear a Scottish voice there. I had the misfortune on radio, BBC Radio today, listening to the guy who runs Scotland. He didn't do well in the last election, actually. And he was asked whether he was in favour of those 2 big oil fields being opened up off the Scottish coast. Right, you should listen to this guy. Tap dancing on the top of a knitting pin. A disgusting failing to answer. He was asked a series of times, are you in favour of it or are you against it? Are you in favour of it or are you against it? Are you in favour of it? Are you against it? He wouldn't say. Honestly, the idea that Scotland, no wonder it's completely down the pan, right, being led by this SNP halfwit who was trying to balance up both sides of the argument, right? You either want the oil and the gas or you don't want it. You want Aberdeen to go bust or you want it to have prosperity. Make up your mind. Doesn't matter what the result is. Let's just have a decision. Right, joining me right now. Hello there, Chris.
Hello, good to be here.
Good. Chris Wickland. It's described on my screen here as the vexed vicar, right? Before we talk about the inevitable decline, it looks like to me, I must have been reporting on the decline of the Christian church for most of my life.
Right.
I need to know a bit about you.
Yes.
Whereabouts is your church?
Okay, so my name's Chris Wickland. I'm a reverend with the Confessing Anglican Church.
With the which church?
The Confessing Anglican Church,
Okay,
which
right.
Bishop Kai Dewa, he's often on this
Oh,
channel.
yes, correct,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah, so he's my bishop.
Got a great voice, that guy.
Oh, yeah, he's a natural-born orator.
If it doesn't work out for him in the God-bothering area, he could do quite well as a kind of Richard Burton sound-alike.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I said to him the other day. He sounds like Richard Burton. He does, yeah. So we oversee a church called Living Word. There's a couple of them in our area.
Which area is that?
So we're based in one in Titchfield, one in Bridgemere, which is kind of like near Portsmouth.
Okay.
That kind of area.
How are they doing?
They're doing well. So the one in Bridgemere is a new plant, and we've just bought the building for that. We've got the one in Titchfield, which has been going for a few years now. And for example, the afternoon service is over capacity now, so it's doing.
And what do you
well.
call over capacity? How many turn up?
Well, so it's not that big a church. So it normally
Just
takes 100, but we're normally getting about 120, 110, 120 most Sundays
Okay,
now.
well, I'm surprised that health and safety haven't been around.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that, should I?
Right.
And
Hello.
we also have a morning service, which is filling up quite nicely as well. So yeah, it's doing well.
Fine. So in what way? So I'm C of E, right? So I'm C of E, and I am here. 50. I'm 50% on the kind of giving to God kind of world. Where are you on that? Are you further to the right, or do you see what I mean? Are you more committed to the Bible than the Church of England appears to be?
Yeah. So as a Christian, my foundation, my whole life is based around Jesus Christ and the Bible, and also the importance of church tradition and church history. So we follow in those traditions, and we do not follow in the traditions of what I'd call cultural Marxist woke progressive modernity. That's not biblical. So we are old school conservative, if you want to put us in a box.
Okay, fine. Okay. And why? And were you connected with the C of E before you decided to start your own church?
So when I first came to faith, which was when I was 17, because I'm 54 now,
right.
So the first church I went to was a Church of England, and it was a good church back then, so that was 30-odd years ago, 35 years ago. So that was, back in those days, things were okay. And I was there for several years, and then I kind of joined like an evangelical kind of charismatic church. And over the years, I've just noticed a decline increasingly in denominations like the Methodist Church, the URC, the Church of England, where they've literally just moved away from the authority of Scripture, biblical orthodoxy, and have kind of sold themselves out for this progressive modernity. And since they've been doing that, the church attendance has been going down and down and down. So they're trying to be culturally relevant, but in the process of being culturally relevant, they're actually destroying themselves.
Yeah, they've lost their audience. Yeah. Okay, so there's a lot of kind of daily challenges faced, whether you believe in the Lord or not. We've just been having an interview with somebody who could actually move to the church to try and get some peace, or actually could move away from the church on the basis that I thought the good Lord was supposed to protect me from peaks like this. Where are you on that? So people come to you with their issues, okay? Everybody's got an issue now.
Yep.
When they come to you and say, look, I've just lost my brother, or something, he's killed in a war, or he's been knocked down in a car crash, or literally he's died of cancer. What can you say to them that the Church of England can't say to them? What is it? What is it about your church that has an umbilical cord and is growing, whereas the other side, honestly, you could fire round my way. There's a St James's Church. You can fire a cannon, right, and not kill anybody, right? Not that I would want to. But.
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess fundamentally, Christianity is not kind of a pie in the sky religion. It's earthed in reality, and so when we look at the things like the Scriptures and the life of Jesus, his life was often marked with suffering as well. And so immediately, we are not devoid. When people come to us with issues, and I was speaking to someone the other day, and he'd tragically just lost a son. He was a 21-year-old and had an accident and died, just bled out within 2 minutes.
Dear, oh dear.
And what do you do with that? Well, first thing, there's no quick, fast answer to help people like that. But we just be there for them. We love them. We care for them. We lead them to Jesus. But also, as a church, we do prayer ministry to help people with grief and various things like that. So we try and practically help them through. There's lots of things that we can do to help them. But ultimately, not pushing them, but showing them, just the love of Christ. And through that, they can find real peace and try to make sense of the world in which they're living in.
Okay, well, that's a good point. Making sense.
Yeah.
So Anne Widdecombe,
78,
she's actually frail, right? Not intellectually, but physically.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the neighbours said prior to her murder, he saw her walking along the road. She was shuffling and she was bent.
Right.
Okay. She dies with 28 hammer blows
21.
from a bloke, or 21, sorry, from a bloke who's driven a 500-mile round trip. You know, there is no argument what he had in his mind. The country, bizarrely, instead of being 100% pro, kind of warmth towards Anne Widdecombe, there were people on the left of the country who seemed to have a view that this was some kind of retribution for her politics.
Yeah, that's right.
What an incredible reaction.
So when you see things like this, so Blue Sky, for example, is the Liberal left's version of X.
Yeah.
And when you looked at the comments on there, that people were rejoicing, glad that she died, a bit like Charlie Kirk when he was assassinated. And that's what I'm calling it. I'm calling it as an assassination and a martyrdom for her, because essentially her politics were forged because of her religious convictions. So it wasn't just she was taken out, she's a martyr as well in that respect. And so when you see people on the left rejoicing at things like that, and then even when we see in mainstream politics, a seeming lack of response to it, a lack of concern of it. We've had Labour just self-congratulating themselves for the last for the last week or so. A high case like this of taking out, assassinating an important member of the public and someone that serves the public in the way she does should be on the news all the time. It shouldn't just be another news cycle that we've moved on now, what's next kind of thing. And the politicians, no matter which side of the court they stand on, should be saying, we want justice, we need to see the truth, we need to do protection. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated, the next day, the Labour Party reduced reform security. And that should just, why? So we're living in times where we're seeing a normalization of what I would call just all-out evil. And it's just, what we saw on Blue Sky and what we've seen from the left is just blatant evil. And, we have politicians that come on programs on TV, like Zach Polanski, for example, that people are treating like he's some kind of credible politician. But some of these people are really dangerous because of the views that they hold. And so people like me, we're labeled neo-Nazi, Christian, far-right nationalists and stuff. And we're nothing of the sort. I'm just an old school Christian going about my job, and so is Anne Widdecombe. Anne Widdecombe is a woman who, she represents what I'd call Christianity of the 1950s and the 1960s, and she just never changed. And what she highlights is just how far we have drifted as society to degradation, and she is a shining example of what was and what we could be. And so for me, the death of Anne Widdecombe is so tragic on so many levels, and highlights really the spirit of the age and the hour of where we're at.
When you look at your congregation, do you still call it a congregation?
Yeah.
Right. When you look at your congregation, what are you seeing there? Are you seeing mainly old people?
No,
right?
no, whole cross section.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, when they come to you, supposing they're, I don't know, we'd say married, couple of kids, probably in their 40s or something.
Yeah.
What are they looking for from your church? Are they looking for guidance? Are they looking, are you their North Star? Or are they looking at a place where they can come and socialize?
No. What they're coming for, everyone that generally comes to our church, they come because they want to hear the Bible being preached.
Right.
And that's a problem. So we see a lot of churches where they're not addressing the issues that are going on in culture.
But when you say the Bible being preached, what do you mean by that? You don't mean it literally, the stories being told and comparing them to modern stories, or how do you mean the Bible being preached?
So, for example, the Bible has a lot to say about, morality. The Bible has a lot to say about things in respect to so, for example, John the Baptist, he was a man that spoke truth to power. He went to Herod and said, you shouldn't be sleeping with your brother's wife, that kind of stuff. He lost his head for it. But that's an example where we see in Scripture that there are times and seasons where we have to stand up, we have to speak for what's right and what's truth and what's righteous. And we get that parallel from the Scriptures. And so when people come to church, they don't want to hear that Jesus is this nice, fluffy God in the sky and your best life is yet to come. They want to know that they have a God that loves them, but also they want to make sense in the world in which they're living in. So they want to know from the Scriptures What is the answer biblically when we're talking about like issues like trans, for example? What does the Bible say about identity?
Trans is the issue of the day, right? And I recognise that this must be a nightmare if you are a transvestite. I mean, the idea that you're that you're more than one person, right, sexually, I can't imagine. Right, it's difficult enough to being a male or female, let alone somewhere in this rather curious mid position. So, what's your church's attitude towards them? Would you have trans people in your congregation?
So I'm glad you asked the question. Yeah. So we have a wonderful man who is like a living testimony to this.
Yeah.
So a long time ago, well, about 4 years ago. There was reports of a transgender person that was sort of going around the local churches, and it was only a matter of time before he came to ours. And one day in walks Victoria, who is clearly a man, but with a wig on, high heels and stuff. And I went up to him and said hello, and he said he was Victoria. But when I looked into his eyes, I could see that he was a man that was broken. You see, some people who are trans are like activists, but this guy was broken. And I just felt, just like, call it the voice of God if you like, I just felt God say, leave him alone, let him marinate in the teachings of the word, and I'll deal with him. So we did. We just let him be, kept coming every Sunday, became part of what we were doing. And then one day, it was about a few months later, he came to church dressed as a man. And I didn't really pay any attention to it. I was like, okay, he's a man today. And then later on that day, he came up to me and said, well, you need to know something. He said, I came here, obviously, as Victoria, and I've been feeling for a while now that God is saying that I should be who I'm born as, which is a man. And I was like, okay. And he said, and basically told this story of, how someone on the street came up to him and said, I believe God's given me a word for you, and your name is Peter. But no one knows his actual name. And he's like, well, that's my actual birth name. How did you know that? So then he kind of came back to being a man again. So then 2 weeks later, he was on a Christian radio station, shared his story. A couple of weeks later after that, he was I think it was in the Sunday Times, double spread on him, how that transgender goes back to, its true gender. And then he joined up with Christian Concern in part of dealing with some of the issues that the NHS had done to him because they'd done correction surgery on him.
No.
Yeah, corrective surgery on him.
So he now, the tackle had disappeared.
Yeah.
Right? But he had gone back to being a bloke.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my giddy
But the thing is, you see, the reason why he went down that road was because he was suffering from mass trauma because of the death of his brother.
Yeah.
But when I think it was a Tavistock Centre got a hold of him, they never gave him a psychiatric evaluation. Just put him through.
That's a shocking story.
It is a shocking story.
A shocking story.
But
did the Sunday Times reveal that he'd had the surgery?
I can't remember. It was a while ago now. But essentially, what he is a complete hammer blow to the lie of the trans movement that, once you've gone trans, there's no going back. And it's like, well, actually, Jesus has a better way. Jesus wants to restore people. He wants to make people well. Jesus loves you as you are, but he doesn't want to leave you to stay as you are. He wants you to become the way that he's designed you and wants you to walk in the fullness of that. And he's in such a much better place now. He's, he's mentally well, he's strong, and he's a much happier guy for doing what he's done. And he's never looked back.
So he's a happy guy.
He's a happy guy.
Even although the male genitalia has been removed, he's gone back to wearing suits and ties and everything.
Yeah.
I'm challenged by that. Well, congratulations. Is that because he's at peace with your church, or he's at peace with himself generally? He's at peace with God.
I think all of the above.
Yeah.
It's because he's in a church where we just teach the Bible, but we don't do it in a harsh, nasty way. We just do it in a way that's loving. You see, there's the truth of the word. It's like me giving you an example of a story, if I may just take a minute.
Go on.
So a woman in the Bible caught in the very act of adultery, right? According to the law of Moses, she should be stoned. But Jesus, he says to all the guys around her, hey, who's without sin, cast the first stone. Yeah. So they all disappear. And then he says...
Well, in my case, I was casting stones for about 12 years, I think, before I'd be allowed.
That's right.
So go on.
So then he says to her, who condemns you? She says, no one. He says, I don't condemn you either, but go sin no more. So it's the love of God that brings transformation, and then you lead from the transformation back to the law of God. Do you see what I'm saying? He said, no one's accusing you, shown her the love of God, it changed and saved her life, and then he says, now go sin no more. And that's how it has to work. It can't be a cruel, cold religion that says, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. We need to show them the love and the compassion of Christ. And when they come to that place, then we say, look, let's live according to God's law, because it's a better way to live. You'll be a happier person.
Okay, your experience then, right? Your experience, you're a man of, I think, 51, did you say?
I'm 54, yeah, but thanks for...
Yeah, well, that's all right. That's what happens when you come on this show. You just lose the years.
Yeah.
I'm 120.
I'm looking good on it.
Yeah. So you say to people, ignore what you did before. There's nothing we can do to change that. But going forward, you've got to live by the Lord's rules, right?
Yeah.
What percentage of your people or your congregation take any notice of that?
No, they do.
They do.
They really believe in it, and they really believe in the Bible. They believe in Jesus, and for them, believing in Christ is not just like an add-on to their life. It is their life, and not in a weird kind of culty way. It's just, Jesus is everything to me. We wake up in the morning, hi Jesus. We read our Bible. We're like, okay, I want to learn to live. I want to do it God's way. I want to walk in His ways. I want to live a life for Christ. And that doesn't have to be weird or goofy. It can just be very normal. You'll be flipping burgers at McDonald's, but showing the goodness and the kindness of God in McDonald's.
Right. So you look at your audience.
Yeah.
You're looking at them, and where would you say they came from? All right. You'll probably say there's a broad spectrum. They be older. It must be older.
There's a whole spectrum. So everything from like 20-year-olds up to 18-year-olds.
And then you look at their kind of academia, their schooling, right? Are they, by and large, thoughtful and clever people? Because remember, to take on board an ancient text and start to live by it when they hadn't lived by it or unlikely to have lived by it takes a good bit of grey matter. Are they, by and large, clever people, or are they looking for you to supply some kind of contextualized leadership?
Yeah, so a good preacher should be able to take complicated concepts of Scripture and put it into ways that's actually easy to understand. So you don't need to be an intellect of great caliber to understand the Bible, although, if you're reading it to yourself, it's sometimes like, what does that mean? So essentially, these people, so you've got everything from ex-drug addicts right through to people who are, have worked in schools, or headmasters, all that kind of stuff. So we've got the whole gambit, the whole spectrum of people that you would say maybe a little bit, not so intellectual, and other people are intellectual. So there's no one thing, but whether you're intelligent or whether you're not so intelligent, having a simple faith in Christ can be life-changing for these people. These people have come out of drugs, they've come out of abusive situations, and the power of Christ and just walking according to the Scriptures is actually bringing them to a place from depression to a place of health.
Okay, fine, but it can't be, the whole of your congregation, the whole of your church can't be based on people who've had some kind of major kind of social or drug related.
Just like I said, it's like ex-school teachers and stuff like that.
Fine, okay, fine, I get that. All right. Well, look, Chris, thank you very much indeed.
That's okay.
The stories, I think we're turning people around, people's lives, incredible. I really was shocked about your story about the trans guy who'd had his genitalia removed and then went back to his original sex. I was absolutely shocked by that. Round my way, and I think I talked to you off camera about this, I live in Weybridge, and coming... There's a very successful church in Weybridge called Skippers, I think it's called. And they're moving to Weybridge High Street, and they're moving right opposite St James's Church, which is an old-fashioned Church of England, right? A kind of drafty place, and it does well for mothers and young mums and stuff like that. But I don't think it does necessarily very well because it's too old-fashioned for my view. Over the road, the other church is going to do fantastic. There's like 700 people go there on Sundays. So there's going to be a battle of the churches coming up. And actually, churches are as competitive as the Ford Motor Company is with Audi, isn't it? And Sainsbury's with Morrison's.
Yes,
you are fighting over.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we want to see lives won for Christ, and and so. It shouldn't be competitive, but I guess it can be seen as like that.
It is competitive. Anyway, very nice to see you, Chris, and I hope to see you again.
Thanks, Kelvin.
Thank you very much indeed. Good to see you, man. Okay, after the news, I actually have no idea what's coming up. Yeah. Oh yes, I'm very sorry. So this is what happens when you get embroiled in Christianity. Your mind goes free to allow the God in. We've got Ted Hewson coming on as political commentator. I think he contests some of the climate change arguments that are coming forward and are not unreasonable when you see how hot it is. Is this just a freak like 76, or does it represent something more important? Find out after the news.
Good morning. I'm Fiona MacLeod. Day 5 of the Andy Burnham premiership, and the new Prime Minister is busy proving he's a man of the people, or at least a man of the pub. He's announced a 20% cut in business rates for pubs, clubs and live music venues from next April, saving the average boozer a heroic £1,100 a year. Pubs need to know the cavalry is coming, he declared, which is lovely until you realise it's about £3 a day and the very biggest venues don't even get it. Still, better than a kick in the optics. Meanwhile, the knob of the North nipped up to Glasgow for the Commonwealth Games and promptly told Scotland's First Minister that a second independence referendum is firmly off limits. Devolution is fine, apparently, just not the bit where Scotland gets to decide its own future. Same old problems, slightly cheaper pints, and the nation once again waits to see how long this particular cavalry charge lasts. Remember to like and subscribe. See you later, alligator.
Yeah, hi there, Kelvin MacKenzie. Some good stuff there from Chris. I remain shocked at the idea that somebody had their genitalia removed and they moved from being a woman back to being what their original sexuality was. How on earth did that happen? Tavistock got a lot to answer for. There was no psychological analysis of that person before they had such an enormous change to their lives. Okay, right now we're gonna watch a fascinating clip, an interview with Elon Musk, simply the most interesting guy in the world today by a country mile. I mean, you've got people like Burnham and to a lesser extent Starmer giving their views, changing how much money we give them, giving a lack of ambition as the central core of socialism. Don't worry about putting food on the table for your family, leave it to the state. They'll give you bangers and mash every Wednesday. The breakfast club idea, what a ridiculous idea. You shouldn't have kids if you can't even give them Kellogg's in the morning. The fact you're busy, good. That's a good example for your children. Be busy, right? So watch Elon Musk being interviewed by some, I think, was it a lady from The Economist? Yeah. Anyway, some po-faced old rhubarb. Listen to this. He gave some good answers.
You support not just the populist right, but the far right. In fact, very fringe parties in some countries.
No, I support the normal people.
Okay.
What do you call the far right? Falsely.
You think is the normal person. Okay.
Yes. Literally, you could go back 10 or 15 years, and these policies were completely normal. In fact, one of the tricks that I think is funny. One thing that's quite funny is to take a speech from Obama and Hillary, and then go to someone and say, who's sort of on the sort of what I call the lunatic left, and say, what do you think of the speech by Trump? I'm like, oh wow, he's the worst person ever. Actually, that was a speech by Obama, or actually, that was a speech by Hillary.
I agree. No, I agree that the center of gravity in this country has shifted. Certainly, the Democratic Party has shifted to the left. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people like Rupert Lowe. I'm talking
right,
about
please.
people.
It's actually just normal people. It's just normal people. It's just normal people. And and here are the principles. And tell me which of these sound terrible. That we should have secure borders. That we should have safe cities. That we should have sensible spending. Which of those three are far right fringe?
No,
and I would like to just admonish you and the media for the absurd characterization of the far right. It is false and misleading and nonsense. Please keep this part in.
We'll keep all of this in, but let me
Don't cut this part.
Right. Well, that's a pretty good point. I certainly buy the secure borders. I mean, one of the issues we face with Burnham is he's talked about this, the £2 bus fare. Then I'm sure that there will be people who benefit from that, and God bless you. And I think I pay enough tax, and people like me pay enough tax in order for that bus fare to be subsidised in that way. As long as the people who are being subsidised haven't, actually been at it in some other aspects of their lives. But anyway, putting that to one side, there is certainly a feeling, even acknowledged by whoever that lady was. Right? It looked as though she, sucked about 28 lemons before she'd given the interview. The whole point about interviewing is actually that your words denote what you think, but don't let your face do it, because that way it becomes too hostile. So the best way to do a dodgy question is with a smile on your face, rather than looking as though you're just about to launch a drone, which is her issue. So he made some reasonable points there. I'm strong on the secure border. I absolutely think we have just abandoned it. Not a word comes out of Burnham about that issue. Why? Because he has no answers. And actually, in an odd way, he's in favour of the 40,000 or 50,000 or 100,000 that come in every year from other places, because he recognises that if the state's funding them, and it's a socialist state, they're going to vote Labour when the time comes. So they're saying we're actually importing voters. That kind of rather cunning gerrymandering seems to be working rather well. And I have a horrible, horrible feeling that it might all happen again in 29. But look, somebody who spends their time worrying about these kinds of issues, I've got joining me now, political commentator Ted Newson. Good morning, Ted.
Good morning to you.
So how do you think, look, these are early days, then, it's 1 week, or slightly less actually, 5 days, I suppose. How do you think he's doing?
Yeah. I mean, from my organisation's point of view, he's doing all right. He said he's going to take VAT off electricity bills, which, if you can pay for it, that's good. It's a fair chunk off people's bills. That's not energy bills, though. That is just electricity. So it's being a bit green on that. More coming out of number 10 is that he wants to drill in the North Sea, which is very promising. But promises aren't everything. There's still an effective 78% tax rate through the energy profits levy. I'm hearing today that he spoke with John Swinney, the First Minister of Scotland.
I heard that interview.
Yes.
Did you hear it?
Well, supposedly behind closed doors, he was saying, well, are you sure about keeping the energy profits levy? But, I mean, who knows? I mean, like you were saying earlier, he was very kind of 50-50.
Swinney was absolutely dreadful. The worst kind of politician. He is asked by a perfectly experienced journalist on the Today programme whether he was in favour, actually, of this oil and gas being released through Jackdaw and the other oil fields. And he wouldn't say yes and he wouldn't say no. What he was basically looking to, he said, well, the courts have got to decide whether, because there's now another aspect, isn't there? The other aspect is it likely to do any damage? Look, I don't give a damn. If I don't want to freeze to death because I can't pay, either I haven't got the oil and gas or I can't afford the oil and gas. Let's just get the damn stuff and then make the decision.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't know, is it really, so the 78% profits levy, is that over and above what they would normally pay in tax, or is that literally if you make 100 quid, you've got to pay £78 of it to the government? Is that what happens?
Well, I think essentially, initially there's a 30% kind of corporation tax.
Yeah, correct.
Then there's a 10% special tax on front of that.
Yeah.
And then when the Ukraine war started, there was this energy profits levy, which was 38% that was piled onto that. So the
Is that right? Is that how you get 78%?
I know.
So why do these guys why do they sell into the UK market?
It just doesn't make sense.
Well,
That's why they're winding down operations here. And
that's why Aberdeen has gone bust.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Well, we've lost a third of our oil refineries since Labour came to power. And quite frankly, I'm not surprised. A lot of these companies are moving their operations, and there's nothing that kind of says that if we approve these oil and gas fields, these energy companies would even want to drill with such a hostile business environment getting in the way.
They hate two things. They hate oil and gas. I love gas. I don't know how I keep warm otherwise, right? And the other thing is they hate business. They detest business. I just saw an interview, we may have it, with the business secretary, right? And so a total dork, a total unemployable dork.
Bet he's never run a business.
Not only has he not run a business, he couldn't name anybody in the cabinet. There's about 28 minutes. They've had to build a bigger table to get everybody around the blinking cabinet table now. None of them. They've all come out of, like
they all come out of Oxford and Cambridge.
Yeah, Nandy's. She only gets the job because her dad started the Runnymede Trust, right? And everybody else. The only good news in all this, the bit I did enjoy, was that Phillipson got the elbow from education, right? Boom, right? And I asked some expert in Labour politics. I don't know quite where that all is. I asked her why she got the elbow, and I was told the reason was she was a bit tricky.
Bit useless, more like.
Yeah, correct. Give that man a pay rise. Honestly. The useless foundation. But she's been replaced with some dork, right, who believes this, that, and the other, all kind of madness. They want to scrap all those academic, don't they? They want to get rid of all the schools, which actually are turning out brighter children.
No private schools, no selective schools. We've all got to go dumb, so we vote Labour in the next election. That's their promise.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's the answer, isn't it? What's a good idea? We turn out thicker and thicker 16-year-olds, so there's only one place the thicko we're likely to vote, which is vote Labour, because it means that our benefits bill will stay up. Now, that's very unkind. So, Ted, tell me this: do you believe that that this government is going to give the go-ahead to? I saw a headline in the Times. I didn't bother to read it, but basically saying they're going to speed ahead with these two oil fields. Are they simply? Is that just performative politics? There's quite a long way down the road already on this, right? What? So is this going to be a reopening of the North Sea, or do you think this will be the end of it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if there's one thing I absolutely hate, it's non-committal politicians. Yeah. So if Andy Burnham is standing outside Number 10, putting down a firm line that we're going to drill in the North Sea, and he said we're going to approve Rosebank and Jackdaw, at least implicitly, according to the papers. Yeah. That makes us less dependent on liquefied natural gas imports, which are worse for the planet and more expensive. So that would be great.
When you say worse for the planet, in what way is that true?
Well, the gas has got to be got out of the ground. It's got to be liquefied. Typically these days it's getting liquefied in America with everything that's going on in Iran. And then it's got to be shipped over by boat to Britain, gasified, and then pumped into everyone's homes. So it's worse for the climate. Very expensive.
Can I ask you something? I'm so old. I can remember times where we were going to run out of oil and gas. Mm-hmm. And certainly in relation to oil, we've got too much. We haven't got too much oil, but that we've got plenty of it. Is that also true of gas?
Well, I mean, this is a worry that we might have too much oil, but we don't have enough refineries to actually refine it. We can't make enough diesel. We can't make enough jet fuel in this country. So that is a problem. But when it comes to gas, we've got generations left.
Why have refineries shut down in the UK? Why can't they make money here?
Well, the government hates business, and especially it hates energy-intensive business. So with the emissions trading scheme is a big stick in the spokes for these guys.
What does that mean? I don't know what the...
Well, the emission trading scheme essentially means that business owners have got to purchase carbon credits from the government. And carbon credits aren't a bad idea, but if it's a free market, that means that people can share around their carbon credits. That's not the case. They can only buy it from the government, and ultimately it just acts as another tax on heavy industry.
And when you say a tax, what does it cost you? So you say, I'm just about to get X amount of oil, right? I go to the government and say, in order to bring in X amount of oil, I've got to buy these carbon credits, yeah?
Well, this is for the refineries.
Yeah, it's for the refineries, right? So the oil's being refined. I'm going to refine this amount of oil. I want my carbon credits, yeah? Mm-hmm. How much does that cost me?
I don't know exactly. It would depend on the size of the refinery, but it just acts as another way of making business less competitive compared to the rest of the world.
So people are saying we're shutting down the refineries here. It doesn't make sense, and the government are just saying bye bye. Then they're not saying
that's the story for Grangemouth. But you look at the steel industry as well. Port Talbot's closed. Scunthorpe's being propped up by the taxpayer. They're just not. They're not effective. They don't make any money. And so they're going elsewhere. And look, it leaves us at risk. It's a blow to national security if we can't make our own fuel to power our jet fighters or to make our own steel to create munitions or infrastructure.
Well, the thing I don't understand about this is it damages jobs, doesn't it? It damages jobs. And I think jobs over the next 3, 5, 10 years are going to be the political shout out of our age. We are either creating work for people. How old are you, Ted?
22.
Right. How did you get a job like this? This is an important job, this, speaking for such a big industry. How did you get that job?
Well, I've got good friends and I did well on my dissertation, I guess.
Oh, you did? Where did you go?
I went to the Uni of Leeds.
Right, okay. And you wrote a dissertation about what? About oil and gas?
No, actually I did politics at university.
So I see. So you went to, you were a political...
I come from the political end.
You're political end, not the commercial end. Okay, that's fine, okay. So jobs is going to be the big shout.
I genuinely think so. I mean, no one can get a job. AI is going to get rid of stuff. What AI doesn't get rid of, the energy profits levy and carbon taxes almost certainly will. And I think the real thing that's getting in the way of Burnham's oil and gas agenda, if he does want to make Britain more secure, is our new energy secretary. I don't know if you've heard about Miata Fanbulla.
Her dad ran Liberia, didn't he?
Well, I can give you some stats.
Go on, here we go. This is the stuff. This is the stuff. Mattia, if you want to find out what your dad was up to, just listen to Ted here.
So Miata, she's previously called for net zero to be sped up.
Yeah.
She wants to raise taxes on flights. She chaired the Croydon Climate Crisis Commission.
Oh, the Croydon Climate Crisis Commission.
We're going to stop
one of the great big driving political forces of our day. You don't worry about the climate in Croydon, you've got to worry about the people in Croydon. Have you seen the state of Croydon, have you? Right? I'm in the Croydon Aversion Society. Keep out of Croydon. Carry on.
Well, that's brilliant.
Sorry, Ted.
She was the CEO of the far left New Economics Foundation, which is basically a think tank.
Just make it up, man. I'm going to start on my own one is the Shut Down Croydon Association and Lock Up Mattia, whatever her name is. Yeah, go on.
She's accused Zach Polanski of stealing her economic vision.
Oh, God.
They've previously given out carbon ration books, her think tank. It's completely wacko. And you think, surely there's no one in the government that can make Ed Miliband look almost pragmatic. And somehow she has. So
and of course, she got the job. She got the job because she'd been given advice to Burnham. Burnham should have, if he'd had any brains about him, would have said, well, if that's her advice, keep her out. Not only keep her out of government, keep her out of the Labour Party. So what Burnham's doing is he's squeezing the Greens out. So we're going to see more madness. And he says himself, there's going to be more Labour. Unfortunately, I am so old, Ted. No, you don't need to join in and agree with me. But I'm so old, I can remember the Harold Wilson years. Okay? Hold on a second. There's somebody equally old over the back there. So even Pooch can remember it. These were disastrous times. Any times we have gone left, it has been a tragedy for our country. Oil and gas might only be a temporary solution, but is a solution which is going to probably last the next 30 odd years. Why don't we just embrace the damn stuff and get on with it?
Absolutely. Well, they talk about a green transition. There's no transition here. They're not letting any new oil and gas developments at the moment. Hopefully Burnham changes things. I mean, a friend of mine said that maybe Burnham wants someone to push her out. She's only been in Parliament for the last 2 years. So fingers crossed that she kind of stays quiet in Desnes and lets Burnham get on with the real stuff. But we're going to need oil and gas for years to come.
We are, for decades. So
what's happening with nuclear? Yeah. Nothing that I hear. Just they talk a lot about these small modular reactors. which sound very impressive on paper, but if we can't build any big modular reactors, how are we going to build a small one to cover towns and cities around the country?
That is true, isn't it? Every time we try and build a nuclear reactor, it literally takes decades. And there is on the other side a collection of probably socialist half-wits who are trying to stop it anyway.
Yes, Miliband was never a fan.
So let's just talk about one final thing before you go, Ted, is jobs for people like you. Okay, so you're lucky, you're clever, you're in work. There are other clever young people who you must know you went to uni with, who you quite admire, you like their company, clever people who are challenged. They can't find the work at the moment. There's been a change, hasn't there?
Absolutely, there's been a change.
And do you notice it among some of your friends or your former other people you graduated with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the national insurance increase has a lot to speak for. The employment rights bill certainly has a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
But people can't get jobs, and I think we're looking at about 14% youth unemployment right now, which is the highest we've had in decades.
It's 16% for 16 to 24s, but I'm more worried about people like you. Not you particularly, but your friends at uni. Have they all got work, or are they?
No, not all of them. I mean, some of them have gone on to kind of careers that they see as a halfway house towards what they really want to do.
Well, like Amazon driver, you mean?
Well, some of them have just gone into bars and restaurants, but
really,
yeah. And some of them have just gone onto the welfare bill because they say, well, I might as well get a bit of money off the government if we're going to be paying all this tax in the future.
So I had a terrible story. I've been moving house. My wife ordered some furniture from Cotswold. Now, Cotswold is, and this is probably where it comes from. I don't know who originally started Cotswold. I congratulate them. It's a kind of upscale furniture manufacturer, now owned by private equity. Okay, so here comes the rub. Cotswold don't deliver their own stuff. Okay, they're not like John Lewis. They have a halfway house. They deliver this reasonably sized chest of drawers, pretty for a bedroom upstairs. When they deliver it to the hall, a couple of Hindu guys, they were hired by Cotswold. This was an independent carrier. The guy looks up at the stairs and says, "We're not taking it up there." My wife had paid on the basis delivered to a room. Okay?
Yes.
He said, "That's too big. We're not doing it." My missus then raises it and said, "Well, hold on a second. This was the agreement. So I don't care what the bloody agreement was. We're not doing it." They then abandoned speaking in English and spoke in their mother tongue so that my wife couldn't understand what they were saying. I thought that was shocking, and I'd like an explanation from Cotswolds. My advice to you is don't go to Cotswolds. So if you're having a decent piece of furniture delivered, then don't go to Cotswold. Go to somebody equivalent who guarantees they will deliver it to the room. That was completely wrong and totally wrong. Yeah, thanks very much. Totally wrong for those Indian workers to speak in their mother tongue to lock out my wife from the discussion. So keep away from Cotswold. Private equity owned, they don't care. Private equity doesn't give us stuff, by the way. Private equity is going to own a load of stuff, anybody who runs it. So if you've got an independent company and private equity come to you, sell out completely. Don't stay on the hope that it's going to get sold on. It never happened. Okay. Anyway, that's that. So so I'm worried about the kids. I'm worried about your generation.
Yeah. Well, I think
where are the jobs?
Where are the jobs?
Where are the jobs? Forget about doing part-time for restaurants or stuff like that. That may be the job. And so you're not going to, solicitors aren't hiring so much, accountants aren't hiring so much. Manufacturing is trying to only employ tech because tech doesn't take the first day off and get paid on sick pay, right? You can work 24 hours a day. There's no weeping. There's no complaining about Tom being a racist or somebody else doing anything else. You know, it's a concern for me, Ted. Anyway, good to see you, Ted. Thank you very much for your advice on all these matters. Good luck with your career, and tell your friends that there are people out there worrying for you.
Thank you very much.
All right, cheers. So after the news break, we have a sign which says "Guest Not Here," which is the Taxpayer Alliance guy is coming in, or he's going to talk to us about the death tax. But the sign is he's not here, and we are trying to find him. And if we don't find him, then it's going to be worse than that. Pooch is going to give his life story, which has been boring the arse off the audience for years on end. After the break, hopefully not Pooch.
Good morning. I'm Fiona MacLeod. Day 5 of the Andy Burnham Premiership, and the new Prime Minister is busy proving he's a man of the people, or at least a man of the pub. He's announced a 20% cut in business rates for pubs, clubs and live music venues from next April, saving the average boozer a heroic £1,100 a year. Pubs need to know the cavalry is coming, he declared, which is lovely until you realise it's about £3 a day and the very biggest venues don't even get it. Still, better than a kick in the optics. Meanwhile, the knob of the North nipped up to Glasgow for the Commonwealth Games and promptly told Scotland's First Minister that a second independence referendum is firmly off limits. Devolution is fine, apparently, just not the bit where Scotland gets to decide its own future. Same old problems, slightly cheaper pints, and the nation once again waits to see how long this particular cavalry charge lasts. Remember to like and subscribe. See you later, alligator.
Yeah, hi there. We're still waiting for the Taxpayer Alliance guy. Obviously, he hasn't paid his taxes, and he will, therefore, you can go and visit him in Wormwood Scrubs. I don't know, he was fixed to come on, though, wasn't he?
It was, yeah. Yeah, I know.
Can I just ask one question?
What?
Why are you looking so smart today, Pooch? Are you going on to dinner, going on to lunch or something?
I am. Two things.
Oh, right.
Being interviewed by Liz Truss about...
Being interviewed by Liz Truss?
Yep, in the studio next door.
Oh, right.
About the state of the media in the UK and why we set UK Live up.
Okay, good
Which
stuff.
I think would be very interesting.
Yeah, good.
I don't
good
like,
marketing.
Yeah, I don't like doing interviews particularly, but it's good for business.
Do you know what?
She
Pooch,
wanted
that's
to...
an absolute lie. That. Do you know what? He honestly, if Brad Pitt ever falls down a hole or something, old Pooch will be there 100 miles an hour giving an interview of my love for Brad Pitt.
Well, hang on. The reason I have to, dear viewer, give the interview is because that man there, the host of the show, wouldn't do it. So because Kelvin wouldn't be interviewed by Liz Truss, I have to be interviewed by Liz Truss. How's that then?
Yes, a good answer. Right. So your life story seems to have had more twists and turns than most, including mine, by quite a long way.
Really?
So when we were talking before, first of all, you were fighting for Aborigine tribes people in Australia, and then eventually making your way around the world. You're successful, and you have an office in New York.
Yeah, my production company putting concerts on.
Okay. Everything's going rather well.
Yep.
And then along came COVID.
Indeed.
And what was your attitude towards a jab and or a mask?
From the very moment it started, I thought it was ridiculous. There was...
Which aspect of it was ridiculous?
So early on, before we were told to lock down, there was a ship called the Diamond Princess, which was a cruise ship, and it was moored, wasn't allowed into the harbour in Japan. Do you remember that? It was just outside Tokyo, and it was moored there, and it had COVID. So I was watching that, thinking, okay, here we go. This is the Petri dish. This is the virus has been let loose. Let's see what happens. Turns out that of the 3,700 people on board, 13 died, but 12 of them had underlying health conditions, and they were all over 75 years of age.
Right. Okay, so this was a cruise ship.
Yeah, so I
And-
thought,
and-
well, this is...
And that is the norm, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not quite the norm, but they always say there's more fridges for dead bodies
Oh, they've got it more
than there
controlled,
are
yeah.
than there are for cauliflower.
Yeah. But so I thought, well, that can't be wrong. There was young people on there. So when they started saying, let's lock down, we've got this vaccination, we're going to roll it out in 6 weeks. Yeah, my questions were, what's in it? Where's the long-term data? This, yes, it's a flu. I've had flu twice in my life and it's not very nice, but flu doesn't kill young people. Even I'm considered young when it comes to flu. I'm talking about someone who's over 80 with health concerns. If they get flu, they're in trouble.
Can I just correct you? You're not young, Pooch. Whichever way you look at it.
Compared to you, Sunshine, I am. I'm young for my age. So I didn't buy into it. Anyway, so this whole thing came in. Oh, you have to have a vaccination to do this, to do that. You have a vaccine pass, and I thought, hello, this is what they've, this is the precursor of digital ID. I don't like being told what to do. I do not like being told what to do by the state, certainly. Anyway, I had an office in New York, 271 Madison Avenue. I used to fly over there every other week.
Did you? How long did you spend there? Literally
a
week.
A week, and then a week on, week off.
And that was to either organise the concert or to get business to organise the concert.
Yep, absolutely. So I'd go to LA as well.
Who did you stage? Did you stage anybody well known?
Yeah, well, I did the New York Philharmonic. I put them on independently.
Right.
Eric Burden of the Animals.
Oh, is he still alive?
Yeah, Eric's a good lad. Yeah. I've got his number if you want to call him. ELO at the Hollywood Bowl.
I can't believe that Eric Burden looks any good, because he didn't look any good when I was a kid.
He could sing. I tell you what, I was doing this. I put this gig on at the Albert Hall, and Eric Burden was playing. Van Morrison was kind of one of the headliners. Remember Paul Jones from the blues band?
Paul Jones, yeah.
Anyway,
Paul Jones, he was in Man for Man.
Yeah. Paul Jones, and he's still in the.
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do.
He's a lovely guy, Paul. And anyway, so I had some recording studios in Putney where we were, everyone was rehearsing for the show. So Eric was there. There is a house singing House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic with his lovely young wife.
Yeah.
He came
Don't
out.
tell me she's the same age as he is. Surely not.
Yeah. And Eric came out just as Paul Jones arrived. Now, Paul Jones, I've put on gigs before. And whenever Paul turns up, you say, can I get you a drink, Paul? He goes, just a cup of tea, please. Lovely guy at Cambridge, very well educated, Christian.
Yeah.
Doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, doesn't swear.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I spoke to him recently about a gig that I'm putting on.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eric Burden's walking out that way. Paul Jones is coming that way, and they hadn't seen each other for years. And Eric Burden says, "Paul, you old C word."
Really?
Yeah, and Paul's face just utterly, completely dropped. So I know it was. But so I wouldn't take the vaccine. And my wife was saying, just take it. And I said, I won't do it. I don't know what's in it. So I don't know how much you know about how concerts are promoted. I want to put Kelvin MacKenzie on a live show. Your fee's 10 grand. I give you 5 grand as a deposit. I hire the venue, cost me 10 grand. I hire this, that, and the other. That's all gone out. I can't get that money back. It's not dependent. If I cancel it, then
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. If you cancel it, it's different. So you've always got to, by the way, promotions like professional gambling. I mean, you don't know if an audience is going to turn up and you're putting your money down, your money. So I'd money down for this gig. Oh, that one's coming up in September. Great. I like that. Okay, but they need quite a bit of money. I've got to hire that venue. Okay. I've got to put a deposit down. I've got this one. I've got that one. I had some in the UK. They suddenly said, no concerts, nothing like that. Plus you can't fly over. I lost it all overnight.
You mean you can't fly over because you don't possess
a vaccine passport?
A vaccine passport.
Yeah. And in the UK, the venues were closed down. So I lost all of that. I lost the money, all of the deposits, which was a lot of money. Yeah. So I lost all of it, Kelvin. So funnily enough, we were talking to Rev Chris today. I was sitting at home well, I wasn't because I didn't lock down. I just go out walking and think, why is everyone listening to this nonsense? So I go out walking, is nice, and I'm pondering life, and I'm thinking, I'm really depressed here. I'm a happy person, but I was pretty down. I thought, I can't fight against this. But then I thought, well, I'm lucky. I'm young.
Oh, yeah. That goes to show the intellectual depth.
Exactly. I'm young and I'm healthy. I thought about all those people who are locked in their homes but haven't got anyone, old people, and I realised that the churches were closed, and I thought that's a bit off. So I went down to my local church. I'm not God Squad at all. I don't believe in anything, and I set up all of their live streaming. I said to them, "Come on, let's live stream your live services." They said, "Okay, fine." So it's myself and the vicar every Sunday live streaming these services to all these old people and congregation, and it's funny how things work. So I always knew a bit about video and live streaming and stuff like that, well, quite a bit. But this was so successful that I made friends with everyone in the congregation and the community. And I thought to myself, why don't I start up an outside broadcast company? So I did the first live concert at Cadogan Hall with the English Chamber Orchestra that was live broadcast. I set up an outside broadcast unit. I started working.
How did it do? How did the broadcast, the streamer?
Fantastic.
Did you get many clicked on?
Yeah, loads. People were so hungry for it. We were quite radical because I refused. They were all going to wear masks and sit like 10 feet apart. And I said, look, I'm not doing it. At the last minute, I said, I won't do it if you're all wearing masks. And they even had the oboe players with a mask with a bloody hole in it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just insanity. So that went really well. And then from that, I started, and this is almost how kind of we got here, and people want to know how I met Mike. I met Mike through when I was doing the concerts. I wanted to put the two mics on. So I contacted Mike, and then I took them over to New York, put them on in New York. Mr. Graham and Mr. Parry around the bars. That was a lot of fun.
Well, what was fun about it? Was it the actual broadcast or being in the bars?
It was hearing their stories. I mean, and same with you. And people love stories, and it's interesting when you talk to me about guests we've had on. You will say, I'll say, oh, they're good, weren't they? You say, yeah, they were good, but a bit too broad. And your newspaper mind, you want the story, you want the human interest, don't you? So, but that was good. We had a lot of fun.
Do you know what? Can I just say, there's a fantastic piece in the Telegraph today.
Is it?
Which is I'm not sure that you would normally say that. And while we're talking, let me just get this on, and I'll tell you why it's fantastic. Have you noticed? You will have noticed with your promoter hat on this incredible explosion in older rock stars.
Oh, I saw it. I mean, that was my thing. I did legacy artists.
Right. Well, listen to this then. So the bands which are still going, Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan, and The Who, well into their 80s, and Harvey Goldsmith can be a miserable bugger, by the way.
I know his brother.
I'm amazed they're still alive, right, considering their lifestyle. Tom Jones, 86, right? Dylan's 85. Roger Daltrey is 82. They're all still touring, as is Alice Cooper, 78. Robert Plant, 77. Now, how about this? The octogenarians are even doing festivals. Gloria Gaynor has just headlined Boogie Town at 82 and is about to announce a 2027 UK tour, while next month, Diana Ross, also 82, is headlining Brighton Pride. From September, Eric Clapton, 81, will perform 8 dates across America's Midwest, including his own 2-day festival, which features a performance from 81-year-old Peter Townsend and Willie Nelson, who is 93, is currently headlining his traveling 12-city outlaw festivals. The Stones in 22 headlined the BST Hyde Park to rave reviews following a 20-day tour, have floated going back on the road next year when both Jagger and Keith Richard will be 83 to promote their latest album, Foreign Tongues. Now, it's who says this? This is what Goldsmith says. When I was first on the road with the Who or the Stones, I'd be going to my next gig in the morning and they were just going to bed. Then at some point in the 90s, a slew of them went vegan, stopped drinking, and started bringing their fitness coaches on the tour. And now they're just getting stronger and stronger. And they're also getting offered so much money, they just can't turn it down. So I Will Survive by
Gloria Gaynor.
Gloria Gaynor. According to her manager, deep down in that article, according to Gloria Gaynor's manager, she's making more money out of that song than she ever was during the time when it was originally a hit. Because what's happening, and I do notice this through my younger relatives, is that we aren't producing quite that quality of music as before.
No.
Because you can make a very good sound without employing any humans at all. And so these people are going to be around literally because the money's so spectacular. And this is where your promoting hat comes on. If somebody can fill a hall, it's only a matter of what you think you can charge, isn't it? It's not like taking a risk. The risk is, can I charge that amount that they get their share and I make money? Okay, and this is paid off and that's paid off. Well, if you've got a major name, you can guarantee filling that hall.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's a matter of pricing those tickets correctly in order that you make some money as well.
Absolutely. Funny enough, I know a bit about that Eric Clapton tour because we were trying to speak to him about a gig we're doing.
Yeah.
But the gig I've got coming up, yes, Kelvin used to do that, and that was to make money, and that's making a living.
Yeah.
Now I'm just doing a few for the enjoyment of it.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously. I'll make money, but I don't want. I'd rather sell out and make a bit less than struggle and deal with PR people, deal with advertising, blah blah blah. So the gig I've got coming up, I have one of those people you just mentioned. You can't say at my gig.
Oh right.
And
what do you mean performing?
Performing.
Yeah.
And you can get a ticket for £17.50
Shit.
at Cadogan Hall. The whole point of this Ronnie Lane thing, Ronnie Lane left Faces and struck out with Slim Chance because he was fed up of the commercialization of the music industry. I mean, this is 50 years ago. He set up a thing called Passing Show. He wanted music to be for the people, and he had a big top. He'd just turn up. I mean, it was like ramshackle. He'd turn up on a village green and have performers there, jugglers, comedians. He went completely bankrupt doing it. But his ethos was bring music to the people. And I'm working with his band Slim Chance, and they still believe that. So we are now, top tickets are £45, bottom tickets.
And is that directed by him? Is he saying, look, I don't want any overcharging here?
That was directed by me in conjunction with Charlie Hart, who is the lead guy in the band.
Right.
We just wanted to do it for the hell of it. We did it last year.
How many people can fit in Cadogan Hall?
1,000. We did it last year. It was a sellout.
And will it be a sellout at these prices? I suspect it will be.
Yeah, and once we announce a big name, people will say, "Why weren't you?"
Oh, you're going to have a big name on top of.
On top of
these
one of those people that you just mentioned is coming.
Right.
One of those octogenarians.
Okay, can you give us a clue?
Not at the moment. I will give you the exclusive on this show, though.
Don't go anywhere. This is an important thing. Pooch, the final concert.
Yeah.
No, so somebody big turns up.
Yeah.
They're not going to get paid very much out of this then.
We are doing a lot of it for charity. Ronnie died of multiple sclerosis. So
Did he know when he was young that he had it?
He didn't know until he was in his 40s.
Yeah.
But he thought he could get it because his mother had it. So...
is that right? It's not an inherited thing, is it?
Not directly.
I tell you what is interesting, though. You do say, I do notice with doctors that if you have a cancer issue, fortunately I haven't, and nor has anybody in my family, which must be a complete...
They'll always ask, won't they?
They really ask, is there any cancer in your family? So they obviously believe that there is a chromosome or some aspect of your life.
Something in your DNA, yeah. But... so yeah, going back to that, so that's why I started doing the promoting, which, you know, that was enjoyable. But on the back of that, when that stopped, it was live streaming, and videoing. So I then was being asked to come in and freelance and run. I did Sky Sports. I did Glastonbury. I ran one of the stages at Glastonbury, which I did for 3 years.
Did you enjoy that?
No, I effing hated it.
Well, why was that, man?
I could. So you go to a meeting. I was what's called unit manager, which means you run all the broadcast for a stage.
Right.
So I'd go to a meeting, get an email from the top BBC guy. Oh, we're going to have a pint now, a quick pint. All the unit managers will chat. Well, one of them turns up in a safari suit with a pith helmet. Another one turns up in a top hat. Another one had bloody fancy dress. It was like it was a big jolly for them. They had so many people working for them. They're all staying in these twee little retro kind of caravans that had all mod cons and stuff like that. And I hated it.
But what was it? What was it? Your Presbyterian attitude towards work was being attacked by these whack jobs, or what?
Yeah, no. I don't mind work. I like hard work.
No. I'm saying your Presbyterian.
Yeah. I don't like elitism.
Right.
That's what I hate.
Yeah, right.
I hate it in politics. Andy Burnham coming in that without asking the people. You look at anything like that. The BBC are so elite. Now, when we watch adverts on TV, and again, listen, I'm an immigrant from an immigrant family. As far as I knew in the 90s, racism had gone. No one cared if someone was black, white, whatever, green, pink. When I see all the adverts and everybody's black or Asian, I don't think, what I know they're doing is they're saying to me and to you, oh, listen, we're not racist, but you're racist. So we've got to show you that black people can be in these adverts, that they are represented. And that's the kind of elitism I hate.
Fine, okay. So if you're, for instance, I know that you know, as a side hustle, you still want to be a promoter on top of your other interests, your other commercial interests, including UK Live. Would you like to promote, for instance, the Rolling Stones? What would that be like? Or do they take every penny out of the promotion?
Oh, they do. They take an
like what? So, for instance, supposing, what does a full house at Wembley take?
Let's say you are doing 80,000.
Yeah, paying what?
Paying
on average, £100 a ticket.
200.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know what the maths on that is.
Well, no, they will make, and they were touring South America. They will make 16 million a gig, and they will take everything. They'll take their money off the top. That'll be straight off the top.
Hold on a second. So the Wembley Arena, or no, Wembley Stadium. Sorry, you saying one night will be 16 million quid, and they say we want 15 million quid of that.
Oh well, it won't quite be that, but it'll take money off the top. I know that it's only in the past 15 years that Ronnie Wood is actually getting a cut. He was on point. He's on points now. He was just on a pay per play.
Yeah.
So you know they're very good at managing their interests, and that's part of the reason. But so going back to that Telegraph article, why are they so popular? I've thought about this, and I think it's like art. If Banksy died tomorrow, your Banksy is suddenly worth 10 times more.
Yeah.
Now, you can't have that with musicians because once they're dead, they can't play, obviously.
Yeah.
But when you know they're coming to the end of their career, then they're at a premium and they can charge more because you're thinking, well, it might be the final tour, might be the last time you see them. You know, so, I mean, on that basis, you should be asking for more money.
I totally get that. So I want to go and see, I went and saw Coldplay.
Oh, yeah.
At Wembley. Okay. £500 a ticket. Okay. I never saw Coldplay.
No.
I didn't see Coldplay. I saw a screen with Coldplay on it, but not a particularly big screen.
No.
Okay. I felt absolutely robbed. I'm never doing that again. I'm never going to Wembley to see anybody. Right. And I couldn't understand why the place was sold out, since I'm not a constant Wembley goer. If I'm a constant Wembley goer, I know I'm not going to see these people. Okay? And by the way, the audio wasn't good either.
No.
I would have done so much better to have stayed at home, literally had a cup of tea and listened to Amazon Music.
Did you have a delay with the audio and the video?
There
usually is.
I can't remember. I was really irritated from the moment I got there.
Yeah.
I felt really upset and I felt I'd been robbed. So my missus likes country music, went to the Albert Hall, paid actually more than 500 a ticket, but we were in a good place and actually listened. And that's the advantage of the Albert Hall, is you can actually see the acts. But I presume there are not enough seats for the majors to come there because they can't make enough money.
No, they do. They go there. They'll do a few nights. Eric Clapton goes there. So you have about 3,500 standard seats, but there's debentures as well.
Yeah.
So with the debentures, you can have 5,500, which is decent if you do Eric Clapton do 3 nights. So 15,000 at 500.
Okay. So Eric
7.5
Clapton
million.
can do it.
Yeah.
Totally get that. But Coldplay couldn't do it. That they're too big.
They are too big. They're a stadium band now, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, I was working when they were on at Glastonbury.
Yeah.
And they're bloody good.
Yeah.
I mean, it is good, but I suppose I'm more of a curmudgeon than you, maybe by the sounds of it. You get out more than I get out. I don't go out. I don't do anything.
Oh yeah.
But
I'm being wheeled out. When you have a younger wife, she says, "Well, this may be the last time that you actually
here we
go anywhere before before I disappear with Tom at number 83."
But
I've always loved you, Tom. He's just here for a while, yeah.
But aren't you put off by the journey to Wembley and the traffic and everything like that?
Look, I totally get that.
And the journey back, even worse.
Yeah, no, the journey back is actually the thing that aggravates my wife. I do get that. And the worst aspect is when you get like the 1140 from Waterloo, right, which is made up of, they call it the vomit comet. It's not quite that bad. But on a Thursday night, it can be. It can be. And the most interesting thing I've seen change in my lifetime is the number of women who are completely hammered and very loud and very skimpily dressed. I mean, it's an astonishing combo. In fact, I would say that there appeared to be more women who'd had too much to drink than blokes on those journeys.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, my biggest bugbear is so I avoid public transport. So I can't. So I tried going first class. Well, so in the normal carriage, people talking loudly on the phones drives me insane.
Right.
People eating food drives me insane.
Can I just say, Pooch? Can I just say, the most interesting person is not you. We should get your wife on, because imagine her saying life with Pooch, right? What's it like? As she starts spelling out your idiosyncrasies, right? Which will be extraordinary. And I'm not talking about
these are normal.
I'm not talking about your sexual idiosyncrasies. I'm talking about the things that you get up to. So we're not doing this. We are doing that. And she's sitting there going, oh, for God's sake.
Well, bit of an exclusive here.
Here we go.
Here we go. I was in the other studio.
Yeah.
And you were talking to Scarlett, my daughter, who's producing.
Yeah.
And you were going, so what's your mum like? What's her name? Blah, blah, blah. She must be a saint to live with Pooch. Why?
Well, because you are a man of very firm views. And I reckon in order for her to live with you, then she must be quite a relaxed personality.
She's a lovely person, but you never know what happens behind closed doors. We have a different dynamic. In the business workplace, I may be one way, but I'm not particularly like that at home.
No, it's the same in my place. Same in my place.
I'm not allowed to eat peanuts next to her because it's too noisy, and I have to tidy my shoes up. I once.
What do you mean you tie your shoes up?
They have to be straight. They can't be like that. She likes.
No, hold on one second. Do you mean when you leave your shoes somewhere?
Yeah.
They have to be in perfect pro.
Yeah.
You can't have them going like that.
Yeah. I once.
Now that's a funny one. I like that.
I once. Have you ever changed a duvet cover? I did it once.
I do. Yeah, I do that.
Oh no, I did it once.
What, you do a duvet cover once in your life?
I've done it once in. Look, Ted, show a 2-shot of these ties. Show your tie, Kelvin.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
We both got married in these ties, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, the way I got married was like this. Right?
But yeah, so you know, I hang up towels.
Correct.
So I behave.
Do you lower the lavatory seat?
Of course I do.
Oh, right.
Here we've got like male, female
Yeah,
loos.
I don't mind that.
I don't mind that, but I can't stand it when I go in and I see that some bloke has weed on the seat without putting it up. It's just disgusting, isn't
By
it?
the way, I'm trying to keep an audience here, Pooch. We do not need to know about the urination problems of the studio. Actually, I don't mind. GB News has mixed sex loos, which in a way make me laugh, really, because if you watch GB News's output, you would have thought that. In relation to GB News, by the way, and this will probably impress the viewers here. They are having, I think, on August the 5th at the Circus Tavern at Purfleet in Essex. They're having their 5th birthday party.
Are they?
Right. And what is incredible is that in the last year, that's the whole year, they have been the #1 news station.
Yeah, it's amazing. They've done a great job.
And, people can say whatever they like or whatever they like. They work damned hard, by the way, to be balanced. I am there to be unbalanced, right? I am not there to listen to some load of old socialist shite, I can tell you that. They have to have balance because those Ofcom people are all over them. The idea that they've gone from a standing start to #1 when you think the BBC News is out there allegedly giving you a news from a central perspective or a neutral perspective, and Sky have decided to go completely the other way.
And they've gone off a cliff.
And they have gone off the cliff. And coming up the cliff has been GB News.
Yeah.
They have done a stunning job. Their CEO, Angelos, with all the battles that he has to face. Yeah, I mean, he faces 2 sets of battles, doesn't he? Let's be honest about it. He faced finding an audience, keeping it on side with the regulator, Ofcom, who have been defeated when they've gone to court. So they don't want another bloody nose, right? And also having to deal with shareholders.
Well, having to find advertisers as well to fund it.
All right, okay, let's get this right then. Trying to find advertisers, not easy when there's a whole world of
hope, not hate.
Yeah.
Having saying don't advertise with GB News.
Yes, a massive and disgusting aspect. And also the other thing is, take the shareholders. They've taken it on the chin as well. Both sides of it, right? There's an investment side and there's Sir Paul Marshall, who runs a big kind of trading platform, really. They've just taken it on the chin. They're not sitting there giving it all of that all the time. They are saying, actually, we've made a bet and we're going to stick with it. And what is incredible is that this has actually happened. So they have bet the thick end probably of 150 million quid over 5 years. Honestly, it's a miracle. And they do represent, as we know from this channel, they do represent a chunk of society which was totally unserved, deliberately so. So, for instance, I don't know whether you've got 2 minutes to go and show that clip you found for me of what was happening on the beach at Calais. Right. That was fantastic. That we must have covered about 1,000 different aspects of life. I'm not sure. And thank you very much indeed,
Ted. Yeah, Ted was vision mixing for us.
Ted, who came in to talk about his job as a political activist, really, against some aspects pro the oil and gas industry, and he ended up, because a guest didn't turn up, Pooch said, "Leave it to me," and he then bored us to death with his anecdotes. No, enlivened the proceedings with his anecdotes. And before we go, we've got about another 30, 40 seconds. Watch this video and watch what's happening in...
So here you have some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen. You have all the migrants here by the water, and you've got gendarmes stood there, look. These people. I'll zoom out a bit to give you the truth here. Gendarme there, all these people. Look, there must be 100 people in total. This isn't all of them, look. Look, they're all here, look. Look at this here. And the gendarmes are actually walking with them. Look. This is madness.
So not a word is said by Burnham about this kind of stuff, which is going on. Hundreds of migrants waiting on the beaches of Calais for a boat to come along to ship over to the UK, where we'll supply them with a free home, free food, free benefits, whatever. He doesn't say anything because he's got no solutions to it. If he had a solution to it, I do think whatever political party supplies the solution to secure borders actually probably gets elected at the general election in 29. So these are, that kind of video telling you, thousands of people coming over, and our world changed, our country changes, and we have politicians, whether they're Tory, Lib Dem, or Labour, who don't really seem to give a damn. Right. That's the lot. Thank you very much indeed. We've got a joke of the day. Pooch has been desperate to tell this gag literally for the last 2 hours. Pooch, over to you.
Tennis players, but I don't think it work. So this is about a golfer. There's so many here there as well, I think. Yeah. But this American guy came over to Ireland anyway, and we had to head for Killarney, and he was on his own. So he wanted to play golf. So he needed a partner to play with him. So he went to the local golf club and he said, would anyone here to play with me? He says, I'd be fairly handy now, so I want a fairly good... Oh, Michelin is your man, he says.
Come on, you've got a better gag than that.
No, this was the one. But okay, I'll come over.
Okay.
I'll go to a 2-shot. Hold on. Right, where's my mic? Step on. Right, people, walking back in, I'll tell the gag because we had some technical problems.
All right, fine. Okay, here it comes. Okay, prepare yourself. Pooch.
So, here we go.
Okay, go on.
So this American guy goes up to Ireland and he wants to play a bit of golf. And so he goes to the local golf club and he says, listen, I want to play a round of golf. I'm on my own, but I'd need a partner. I'm a fairly handy golf player. They say, oh, you want to play against Mick Flanagan? He's a good player. So they gave the American the Mick Flanagan's number, so he gave him a ring. And he said, I'm over for a game of golf. Would you play? Yeah, of course I'll play, Mick said. Of course I'll play. He said, I'll be there at 9 o'clock. He said, but I may be half an hour late. Anyway, the American turns up. Mick's there the next morning on the first tee, 9 o'clock. He's got a set of right-handed clubs. Mick is such a good player, beats him really handily. So the American says, okay, look, I enjoyed that, but I want to play you again tomorrow. Mick said, okay, fine, we can play tomorrow. He said, I'll see you at 9 o'clock, but maybe half an hour late. So next day, turns up, Mick's there, but he's got a set of left-handed clubs. Plays the American, again, beats him quite handily. And the American says, look, hang on. He goes, you turn up with your left-handed clubs today and beat me. Yesterday, you turn up with your right-handed clubs and beat me. He goes, how do you decide which clubs you're going to use? He said, well, what I do, when I wake up in the morning, I look at the wife, and if she's lying on her right side, I bring my right-handed clubs. If she's lying on her left side, I bring my left-handed clubs. It's simple. He said, but what about if she's lying on her back? He said, I'll be half an hour late.
The thing that made me laugh about that is the half an hour. He said, I'll be 2 minutes late. Right. Okay, thank you very much indeed. I'm back on Monday. Have enjoyed the show. I found the sister talking about the passing of her sister killed by a drunken driver, and the fact that this government was thinking of releasing that killer into society early. I found that incredible. Okay, thank you very much indeed. See you Monday. Bye.